Immortal Cultivation family, starting with extreme effort to gain experience. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76, Key Training Level 10. Luya turned around and observed Nayuao's true appearance carefully for the first time. A touch of surprise flashed in his eyes unconsciously. Nayuao hugged her chest with her hands, her face flushed. It was unknown whether it was due to the burning of the flames or the shame and anger. Seeing that she was still curled up, Luya suddenly realized that at this time, could he still expect a girl to take the initiative? He stretched out his strong arms and hugged her in his arms. Feeling the trembling and uneasy body in his arms, Luya was silent for a while, and finally leaned forward. A slight groan of pain sounded in the flames, and then was swallowed by the flames. Luya and Nayuao embraced each other, indistinguishable from each other, and the yin and yang energies gradually emerged from the two of them, and then flowed into each other's bodies along the bridge between the two, eventually forming a perfect yin and yang cycle, covering the two of them. From a distance, it looked like a chaotic egg, sinking and floating in the burning of the flames. Time has lost its meaning in the flames. The flames in the Kyankan Judoin furnace became more and more vigorous. In the center of the flames, a chaos egg was floating quietly. Even if the flames were hot, the chaos egg remained motionless. After an unknown amount of time, the closed furnace was reopened. The flames in the furnace gradually weakened until they disappeared completely. A drop of crystal clear silver liquid appeared in the center of the furnace and was then absorbed by the chaos egg at will. Perhaps sensing the changes in the outside world, the chaos egg, which had been motionless, had a series of chaotic cracks on its surface. The cracks became more and more, and finally it exploded with a pop. The yin and yang energies scattered, revealing two bodies sleeping with their necks crossed. Luya was the first to open his eyes full of relief for surviving the catastrophe. He couldn't help but look down at the person who was still pretending to sleep in his arms. If it weren't for her, he would probably have died here. Similarly, if it weren't for her, he might not have suffered this catastrophe. Right or wrong is meaningless now. Seeing her eyelashes trembling slightly, but still showing no sign of waking up, Luya finally couldn't help but move. After a sigh, Nayuao finally woke up slowly. After seeing Luya, her jade face flushed, and then her almond eyes glared. Why don't you get off quickly for this saint? Seeing her trying her best to be fierce, Luya felt inexplicably excited. Wait? Don't for a long time. Afterwards, Luya and Nayuao dressed neatly and appeared outside the Kyankan Judoin furnace. Looking at the spirited Luya, Nayuao looked indifferent. After taking out the spare mask from the storage bag and putting it on, she returned to the aura that a saint of the demon sect should have. Without waiting for Luya to speak, she turned into rainbow light and rushed out of the main gate of the palace. Luya did not try to stop her. Everything in the furnace was an accident. If he took it seriously, he would really deserve to die. It happened that the witch left, and he could finally put his mind at ease. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Luya opened the skill panel, and a hint of joy burst out from his eyes. Name, Luya. Lifespan, 20/128 years old. Realm, the 10th level of key training. 85/100, skills. Peak of Chongchun Gong. 1042, 50,000, skills, fire controlling technique. 199802/200000, body protection aura peak. 50000/50000, object controlling technique. 26584, 50000, Zuanayan Yiki Ju peak. 42877, 50000, fire snake technique. 3102, 50,000, palm thunder peak. 3485/50000, wind controlling technique. 19982/50000, minor successive Jingfang curse. 1854, 2000, magical powers, none. It's actually the 10th level of key training. Luya was greatly surprised when he looked at the realm on the skill panel. According to his perception, he and Nayuao had practiced yin and yang for at most a month, and his cultivation level had actually risen directly from the 9th level of key training to the 10th level. and Chong Chun-gong had also unknowingly entered the peak realm. Lu Yu practiced a technique a little bit, and felt that everything was harmonious. The circulation of the meridians was extremely smooth, and the speed of absorbing spiritual energy was increased by 50%. This time, by chance, he practiced yin and yuan with unyielding, which benefited him a lot. The most important thing after that was the fire control technique. After continuous pressure in the furnace, Lu Yu's fire control technique was finally about to reach the limit of the realm of transformation, which also meant that his conjecture had reached the final moment of verification. Lu Yu did not hesitate, stretched out his hand to summon a fire snake, and let it wander in the palace, and the experience of fire control technique jumped again. Then he closed his eyes and entered the state of looking inward. The slurry of heaven and earth had been absorbed during his and Niuiao's practice of the secret method. The most obvious manifestation was that his body had completely reached the peak that mortals could reach. Not only were all kinds of injuries and hidden injuries repaired, but he also reached the limit of his lifespan of 128 years. Then came his spiritual consciousness. After being tempered by the slurry of heaven and earth, his spiritual consciousness had completely reached the limit of perfect key training and reached the edge of transformation. And Lu Yu found that his mana had become more pure, at least 3 to 4 times purer than before. If his mana was a thin mist before, then at this moment, his mana was already a thick mist that was about to liquefy. The most important point for a cultivator to build a foundation is to liquefy his own mana. The liquefied mana contains more spiritual energy, and the spells cast are more powerful. It can feed back to the body and subtly enhance the cultivator's physique and soul. It can be said that this slurry of heaven and earth has adjusted Lu Yu's state to the peak moment. Once he reaches the realm, he can try to build a foundation. This is the role of the flowing slurry of heaven and earth. As a natural treasure, although it cannot be used as the foundation stone for the foundation of the earth, its role in the cultivators is irreplaceable by any natural treasure. The improvement of any point of the 3, mana, consciousness, and physical body, is a huge improvement in the foundation for the cultivators who are determined to build the foundation of the heavenly way. It can be said that the improvement brought to Lu Yu by the flowing slurry of heaven and earth at least reduced his mortality rate when he was building the foundation of the heavenly way by 10%. After Lu Yu understood his own situation, he stood up. In his perception, the fire snake he just released seemed to touch something. Following the route of the fire snake, Lu Yu came to a quiet room behind the furnace. The quiet room was not big. Lu Yu found the fire snake wandering on a dark green stone platform at a glance. On the stone platform, there was a miniature formation engraved. It was this formation that blocked the fire snake outside. In the formation, a simple jade slip lay quietly. The fire snake raised its upper body and gently hit the light curtain of the formation. This action did not make any progress except for a few ripples. Lu Yu stretched out his hand and took back the fire snake, his eyes showing joy. This jade slip could be placed in the formation, so its value must be not low. He took out his long knife and made a tentative cut. The knife flashed, and the formation was safe and sound. Lu Yu was not surprised. If this formation was so easy to break, this jade slip would not appear in front of him. Please subscribe first, everyone. Chapter 77 Entering into Trance. After a moment, Lu Yu stood in front of the stone platform with a dejected look on his face. This formation was like a piece of rock. Even if he used all his skills, there was still no sign of breaking it. The formation pattern returned to normal in the blink of an eye. Try it again. If it doesn't work, I can only give up. Lu Yu sat down cross-legged and began to concentrate on controlling the flame snake transformed by the fire control technique. As he concentrated on practicing, the experience of the fire control technique began to jump again. For Lu Yu now, 200 experience points would only take 3 hours if he tried his best. With the last bit of experience jumping, the fire control technique finally reached the limit of 200,000. At the moment when the fire control technique reached the limit of the transformation realm, Lu Yu saw that the fire control technique suddenly burst into dazzling golden light in his skill panel. The golden light became more and more dazzling, and the dazzling light almost made Lu Yu unable to look directly at it. Then, his mind boomed, and countless insights about fire emerged from the void, quickly imprinted in his soul, and were digested and absorbed by him. This strange vision lasted for a quarter of an hour. When the golden light faded, the perception in his mind also stopped. Lu Yu let out a long sigh, his eyes full of joy. He looked at the skill panel, and in the column of magical powers, A line of words suddenly appeared. Magic power, sun true fire. The sun is the essence of fire, the most rigid and yang, burning everything. Lu Yue held his index finger upright in front of him, and with a thought, a tiny flame as small as a bean appeared in front of him. This bean-shaped fire was dark inside and bright outside. As soon as it appeared, it burst into a strong golden light. The golden light was extremely rigid and yang, and it was very domineering. In just a moment, the air around him was irregularly distorted. Lu Yue retracted his hand, the bean-shaped fire disappeared, and the hot golden light disappeared immediately. Superb, superb, ho ha ho ha! Lu Yue could no longer suppress the joy in his heart, and laughed heartily in this quiet room. It has been 4 years since he traveled through time. Not only has his cultivation level been raised to the 10th level of key training, which is about to be perfected, but he also has a magical power that even Jinden's Henrin can only dream of. Taoism is easy to obtain, but supernatural powers are hard to obtain. If people knew that he had supernatural powers in the key training period, they would probably think he was dreaming. Because this kind of thing is too outrageous and basically impossible to happen. Lu Yue stopped smiling and looked at the light shield of the formation in front of him. With one hand, a soybean-sized sunfire appeared at his fingertips and slowly pressed towards the formation. The sunfire slowly approached the light curtain, and a strong golden light burst out. The originally indestructible formation light curtain was like ice and snow, and a big hole was melted in the blink of an eye. The unknown formation that made Lu Yue helpless did not even last 3 breaths in front of the sunfire, and it collapsed. Lu Yue's mind moved, the flames disappeared, and the jade slip in the formation automatically flew into his hand. Holding the jade slip in his hand, Lu Yue smiled. The supernatural power that had just been born was so powerful that he dared not imagine how powerful it would be in the future when he mastered it. Burning the sky and boiling the sea, perhaps it is not a difficult task. I seem to have forgotten something. Lu Yue held the jade slip and opened the skill panel again. Name, Lu Yue. Lifespan, 20/128 years old. Realm, 10th level of key training. 85/100, skills, peak of Chong Chun Gong. 1042, 50,000, skills, perfect fire control technique, peak of golden sword key. 50,000, can be advanced, peak of body protection aura. 50,000, can be advanced, peak of earth spike. 50000/50000, peak of splitting peak fist. 50,000, can be advanced, peak of splitting peak knife. 50,000, can be advanced, peak of exorcism technique. 50000/50000, peak of retention technique. 50,000, can be advanced, peak of illumination technique. 50,000, can be advanced, magic power, true sunfire magic power points. 1 at the bottom of the skill panel, a new column appeared, magic power points. Lu Yue guessed that this should be the result of his magical power. A magical power that was born would provide a little magical power point. As for the words advanced that appeared after the spells that could not be advanced after reaching the peak limit, he thought that it should be through consuming magical power points to force these spells that had already reached the limit to be advanced to a higher level. But why are there no signs of advanced when the earth spike and exorcism have clearly reached the peak? Lu Yue looked at the earth spike and exorcism on the panel in confusion, lowered his head and pondered for a moment, and came to a conclusion. Maybe the peak limit is the real limit of these 2 spells. It has reached the point where there is no further advancement, so naturally there will be no possibility of advancement. With this thought, Lu Yue understood. As for how to use this newly acquired magical power point, he already had a plan in mind. All along, the role of the golden sword key has been very important to him. In the early days, Lu Yue relied on the extremely low consumption of the golden sword key to gain a firm foothold in this world. However, as his cultivation became higher and higher, the enemies he faced became stronger and stronger. The weak golden sword key could only be used for harassment and could no longer play a key role. Lu Yue also lamented that the limit of the golden sword key was too low, but he didn't expect that now the turning point has come. He looked cautious and emphasized the advanced suffix of the golden sword key. As Lu Yue clicked, the magic point at the bottom gradually melted and turned into white light to wrap the golden sword key. It seemed that the golden sword key was hit by holy light. Only the advanced in the suffix reflected the transformation of the golden sword key. It's true, Lu Yue saw that the magic points had been consumed, and immediately realized that he was right. If this goes on, won't all my spells eventually become magic? Lu Ye's eyes lit up. If this is true, it would be incredible. But that's all for later. The most urgent thing is to complete this secret realm and return to the family. Lu Ye put his eyes on the jade slip in his hand, hesitated for a moment, and slowly probed into it with his consciousness. As soon as his consciousness probed into the jade slip, it burst into dazzling light. Lu Ye's face changed drastically, and he was about to throw the jade slip away. But the next moment, he was shocked to find that his body could no longer move. The jade slip seemed to have become a black hole, absorbing most of his consciousness into the jade slip. Inside the jade slip, it was pitch black. Lu Ye's consciousness quickly turned into a human form. The sun's true fire hidden in his consciousness now turned into a majestic and luxurious golden robe, wrapping Lu Ye's consciousness in it. Feeling the sun's true fire outside of his consciousness, Lu Ye breathed a sigh of relief. With the spiritual protection of the sun's true fire, there would be no problem. If this jade slip is really a trap set by some old monster, and he wants to take over the body, then the extremely strong and yang sun's true fire will teach him a lesson. However, the expected danger did not appear. Lu Ye waited for a long time, but found nothing. Just when he was impatient, an old and ethereal voice came from the void. Dear friends, please subscribe first. Liho is typing hard. In addition, some content in Chapter 73 has been blocked. I just revised it and sent it out. Those who haven't seen it can go and have a look. Ahem, those who understand will understand. Chapter 78 9 Broken Weapon Refining Technique. Well, I haven't talked to anyone for a long time. I forgot how to start. Please forgive me. The old voice was intermittent at first, but soon became fluent. Lu Ye looked in the direction of the voice and said, Senior, you invited me here in this way. Aren't you afraid that I will misunderstand you? Oh Hadhua, please forgive me. Just think of this as a little warning from the old man to the younger generation. The old voice laughed and continued, although the inheritance jade slip is good, not everyone is as kind as me. If you are not careful, you will die. Lu Ye was awed in his heart. He knew that what the old mysterious man said was right. He secretly warned himself to be cautious, and then he said, Thank you, Senior. I wonder why you invited me. The old voice laughed again, and after a long time, a voice came out from the void. Aren't you curious about my origins and why I am here? Lu Ye shook his head. He knew that curiosity killed the cat. Perhaps because Lu Ye did not respond, the old voice felt bored, so he spoke again. What do you think of this Kyankan Judo furnace? Lu Ye's thoughts turned quickly, and he said calmly, It is the strongest magic weapon I have ever seen in my life. Ha ha ha, you are quite knowledgeable. The old voice seemed a little happy. Seeing that his laughter was endless, Lu Ye did not intend to continue to waste time with him, so he said directly, If there is nothing else, I will take my leave first. I still have things to deal with. Wait, the laughter stopped abruptly, and the old voice suddenly sped up. Young people nowadays are just impatient. They don't even want to chat with the old seniors for a few more words. Lu Ye did not speak, and quietly stared at the nothingness in the distance. My friend, how about I make a deal with you? Tell me, I will teach you the most advanced weapon refining technique. How about you agree to one condition and help me do something? The most advanced weapon refining technique. Lu Ye was puzzled. That's right. My 9 broken weapon refining technique was one of the strongest back then. Even the 13 peaks of the Qianfeng sect, the top sect at the time, could only refine top-notch magic weapons that were comparable to mine. What do you think? Do you want to learn it? Lu Ye nodded straightforwardly and said, Yes, but I want to know what I need to do more. What you need to do is not difficult. My name is Zhang Jiuruan, and I was born in the Zhang family of Chenhou domain. Back then, I failed in my death retreat in this 9 broken secret realm, and my body and soul both perished. At the last moment, I used a secret method to preserve my soul in this jade slip, and I didn't even have time to deal with my funeral. I have been in it for an unknown number of years, so I would like to trouble you to take this opportunity in my place if you have the ability in the future, and hand over my lifelong 9 broken weapon refining technique to my Zhang family. This can be regarded as my way of repaying the family for nurturing me. After listening to him, Lu Ye said, Senior, Yankai territory is tens of thousands of miles away from Chenhou territory. With my humble cultivation, I may never be able to reach Chenhou territory in my lifetime. Are you sure you want me to go to the family on your behalf? The old voice paused and said, Besides you, Can I count on anyone else? The formation I set up can only be broken by the lethality of cultivators above the middle stage of foundation building. This is basically impossible for cultivators in the key training stage. Since you can get the Jade Slip, it means you have the combat power of the middle stage of foundation building. If even you can't do it, then it is even more impossible for others to do it, so that's it. Lu Yu understood. No wonder the Jade Slip was placed in such a conspicuous place and no one took it away. No wonder the old voice was so confident, no wonder the other party didn't do anything extreme to him. Lu Yu pondered for a moment before speaking. In this case, I am willing to give it a try, okay, but we need to make 3 rules. I will give you the 9 broken weapon refining technique. You can learn it, but you must go to my Zhang family in the future and hand it over to someone in the Zhang family. Lu Yan nodded and said, if I am strong enough, I will definitely hand it over to the senior family. I hope you can send it as soon as possible. The old voice became low, and then Lu Ya saw a purple light in the void in front of him, and it appeared in front of him in an instant. Lu Ya looked carefully, and it was not a purple light at all, but a rainbow light composed of a large number of purple characters. My friend, this is the complete essence of the 9 broken weapon refining technique. Remember it? The old voice fell, and a large amount of purple light flew towards Lu Ya's eyes. Lu Ya hesitated for a moment, let go of the protection of the sun's true fire, and let the purple light rush into his eyes. As the purple light entered his eyes, a large amount of complicated knowledge of refining poured into his mind, and all kinds of insights emerged in his heart. As time went by, after the last purple word sank into Lu Ya's eyes, the inheritance finally ended. At this moment, Lu Ya's spiritual body was engraved with purple words, making him emit a purple light from the inside out. Lu Ya rubbed his eyebrows tiredly, and it took him a long time to recover. The long inheritance just now almost exhausted his spirit, but fortunately he still persisted. Feeling the information flashing in his mind from time to time, Lu Ya's heart rose with enlightenment. The Jiuduin Taoist's Jiuduin refining technique is indeed a top-level refining technique. Lu Ya has never even heard of the various techniques and magic weapons in it. With the Jiuduin Taoist's refining inheritance, Lu Ya is confident that he will soon become a formal refiner. Seeing that Lu Ya's inheritance was over, Jiuduin Taoist's old voice was full of fatigue. Okay, the old man's spiritual power is running out, and time is running out. You go out first, my friend. When you complete my request, you can borrow this Jade Slip to come to my Jiuduin secret realm again and take this Kyankan Jiuduin furnace away. Now it has too much karma, for you, it will only bring you death. Lu Ya bowed and saluted. Thank you, senior, go, Jiuduin Taoist said, and then there was no sound. Lu Ya did not pause, his mind moved, and he returned to his body in the blink of an eye. After his spiritual consciousness returned to his body, Lu Ya put the Jade Slip in his hand into an empty storage bag, put it away carefully, and then he breathed a sigh of relief. This trip to Jiuduin's secret realm is worth it, and the harvest is so great that it is unimaginable. He hid his inner emotions, and then changed his appearance again to the appearance of Mr. Zhao when he entered, and then walked out of the palace leisurely. The entire palace complex was silent. He turned and headed towards the largest Jiuduin palace. At this moment, the palace door of Jiuduin Palace was wide open. There was nothing inside the door, and there were traces of fighting everywhere. Lu Ya muttered to himself, then stepped into the palace carefully, past the front hall, and a teleportation array appeared in front of him. Dear friends, please be the first to order. Chapter 79 Return. This should be the teleportation array to leave the secret realm, Lu Ya guessed, and then confirmed again and again that there were no cultivators around, and then returned to Jiuduin Palace. Looking at the teleportation array in front of him, Lu Ya stepped into it. After the world spun around, Lu Ya appeared on the top of the mountain where he started. A cold gale blew, and seeing the familiar scene, Lu Ya finally breathed a sigh of relief. He looked around, identified the direction, and walked towards the team of Jiubeo sect Wuho Xianbeo Pavilion. Outside the teleportation array, Lu Ya found that the cultivators from various forces who entered the Jiuduin secret realm had now appeared in each team. However, he found that out of the more than 50 people who entered the Jiuduin secret realm, only more than 20 people returned at this moment. This discovery made him feel a chill in his heart. The remaining people might have stayed in the secret realm forever. If he hadn't tried his best to keep Niuio, he might have been one of the people who stayed in the secret realm forever. How could he be walking among the major forces with ease like now? With the appearance of Lu Ya, All the forces that stayed here cast their eyes on Liu Yang, the cultivator who had just appeared. The gazes have weight, not to mention that there are also cultivators at the foundation building or even golden elixir level. The will contained in the gazes of hundreds of cultivators is simply unbearable for ordinary cultivators at the key training level. Liu Yang has the supernatural power of the Sun True Fire, and the fundamental spiritual protection of the Sun True Fire on his soul. At this moment, facing the inquiring gazes of the crowd, Liu Yang's expression is as relaxed as usual, and his steps are steady. However, when he walked in front of the yin-yang demon sex team, Liu Yang's expression became a little unnatural. Because at the front of the team, Niuiao exuded an aura of no strangers allowed like a 1,000-year-old iceberg. The eyes under the yin-yang mask did not fluctuate at all, staring at Liu Yang's face. Liu Yang was now wearing Zhao Tai's face. He was sure that he had never shown this face in front of Niuiao, but he always felt that the other party had recognized him. After all, he had taken the other party's yuan yin, and it was always a little unnatural to face Niuiao's gaze at this moment. Fortunately, Liu Yang's speed was not slow. He walked through the yin-yang demon sect area in a few steps and quickly returned to the team of Wuhou Xianbao Pavilion. Brother Zhao, here, a fat figure who had just joined the team of Wuhou Xianbao Pavilion waved his hand to greet Liu Yang. Liu Yang paused, then walked towards the location where Nanguang Wudi was. Brother Zhao, why did you come out so late? Did you encounter any obstacles in the secret realm? Nanguang Wudi asked curiously. Liu Yang nodded bitterly, and then said with lingering fear, I almost couldn't get out. Fortunately I was lucky, and I encountered a teleportation array at the last moment, so I escaped by luck. I see, then your luck is really not good. If you met me, it might not be like this. Nanguang Wudi smacked his lips, a little regretful. Let's not talk about this. We finally got out alive. Liu Yang decisively changed the subject and asked, how long have you been out? Do we still need to wait here? Nanguang Wudi really stopped asking about Liu Yang's situation and answered. It's been half a month. I heard from them that it seems that the secret realm will be completely closed in a few days. If no one comes out, we will prepare to return. I see. Liu Yang looked up and saw that the upside-down mountain was still in front of him, but it was a distance away from the time when the secret realm was opened. Perhaps in a few days, this upside-down mountain will disappear into the sea of clouds again, and then the secret realm will be completely closed. No longer thinking about these trivial matters, Liu Yang seized the time and began to brush up on the experience of wind control. The successful experience of fire control is the best stimulant for him. Wind control, which is the same as fire control, is another magical power waving at him in Liu Yang's eyes, which makes him keep madly lavering experience. 5 days later, Liu Yang manipulated a wisp of invisible wine to quickly outline Nanguang Wudi's body. The speed was so fast that it almost formed a windshield on the surface of Nanguang Wudi's body. At this moment, the sky roared, and Liu Yang and others looked up at the sky. They saw that the huge inverted peak was completely disconnected from the mountain where they were, and gradually disappeared into the sea of clouds. The secret realm was closed. Liu Yang casually dispersed the wind control technique and cast his eyes to the front of the team. The pink-robed monk of the yin-yang holy sect took action first, leading the 7 disciples behind him into the teleportation array that came from. Niuiao stood in the array, still looking at Liu Yang's position, until the light of the teleportation array lit up, and then disappeared with the teleportation array. Finally gone, Liu Yang secretly rejoiced that for 5 whole days, the other party had been staring at him like this, and he had no reason to communicate with a candidate saint of the yin-yang demon sect, so he could only bite the bullet and pretend that she didn't exist. Now she finally left. As the yin-yang demon sect left first, the other major forces entered the teleportation array and disappeared one by one. It has taken 2 months to come here to participate in the trial. There are many people like Liu who are eager to go home. After waiting for a long time, it was finally the turn of Wuhou Xianbao Pavilion. Liu Yang and his companions were the first to walk out of the team and step onto the teleportation array. As the light flashed, his hanging heart was finally put down. Before, there were so many forces, and each of the monks leading the team was an existence whose cultivation level he could not see clearly, which made him feel very insecure, as if his life was in danger at any time. Liu Yang's figure lit up on the teleportation array, and he had returned to the teleportation array room of Wuhou Xianbao Pavilion in Shaoshan City. After walking out of the teleportation array, Liu Yang saw Lu Dinghe sitting cross-legged in the corner in the distance. At this moment, Ludinghe had also opened his eyes and looked towards the direction of the teleportation array. After seeing Ludinghe's eyes flashed, and the whole person jumped up from the cushion, and appeared in front of Luya the next second. "Young master, you are finally back," Ludinghe's gloomy voice sounded in Luya's ears, and the relationship contained in it was clearly visible. "Well, I'm back. This trip to the secret realm is not fun at all. I am so tired." Luya patted his shoulders and complained casually. Ludinghe ignored his complaints and continued to say what he said before, "Young master, since you are back, go back with me. The elders at home are probably waiting anxiously." "That's right, Brother Woody, I want to go home. The elders at home are urging me. Let's meet again if we are lucky." Luya waved to Nangguang Woody, and then he and Ludinghe quickly left Wuho Xianbao Pavilion and rushed out of the city. All the way out of the city, Ludinghe stretched out his hand and took Luya to the sky, flying towards the direction of the family. Since he was flying with his third grandfather, Luya was also happy to be free. He summoned a group of invisible wind and continued to practice. Ludinghe looked at Luya, who was practicing magic on the road, and wanted to ask about his experience in the secret realm, but he didn't say it in the end. The 10,000 word update of Luho has ended. I can't hold on any longer. Please subscribe. Chapter 80 Return to the Family. Before the sun set, two figures, one old and one young, landed outside the Lu clan's territory. They were Luya and Ludinghe, who had returned safely. After returning to the familiar family, Luya finally felt a lot more relaxed. He let go of all his previous disguises and vigilance. "Hey, second brother. Third grandfather. Third grandfather and second brother are back. Third grandfather and second brother are back." The first to discover the two were a group of little kids playing in the mud not far from the gate. When they saw Luya and the others come in, they immediately shouted excitedly. One of them was a little girl holding a fat rabbit ear. When she saw the two, she immediately ran over, not caring about the rabbit that was about to fall apart in her hands. Second brother, you're finally back. I wanted to play with you. I didn't see you several times when I went to your place." The little girl's face was stained with mud, and her pink little mouth pouted, saying quite cutely, "Haha, 13th sister, don't be angry. Second brother has just finished his work and is back. Look what gift he brought you." Luya squatted down, touched the little girl's head, and then took out a brightly colored ribbon from his storage bag like a magic trick. This was a first-level low-grade protective magic weapon. He forgot who contributed it. He had a lot of magic weapons of this level in his storage bag, and it just came in handy at this moment. "Ah!" the little girl exclaimed, her little hands loosened, and the fat rabbit sat on the ground. She rubbed her little hands on her clothes, then took the ribbon from Luya with both hands, her big eyes bright and energetic, so beautiful. Then she looked up at Luya and asked uncertainly, "Second brother, is this really for Xiaoluabo?" "Of course, but you have to promise second brother that when you grow up, you must practice hard and can't play around anymore." "Thank you, second brother. Xiaoluabo will definitely work hard to practice and become the most powerful foundation-building monk," the little girl cheered loudly. In her world, foundation building is already a great monk, and it is natural to aim for foundation building. After comforting the little girl, Luya saw the other little kids also came over, looking at the ribbon in the little girl's hand eagerly. Luya smiled slightly. "Don't worry, everyone will get a share." "Oh, second brother is the best. Second brother is the best. Thank you, second brother," the little kids cheered immediately. This made the little fat boy who had just run back to call the clan leader and others anxious. He didn't care about the clan leader behind him, and took short steps while running and anxiously shouted, "Second brother, there is still me, there is still me." Luya looked at the little fat boy and Ludingbo and others behind him, and was in a good mood. He said jokingly, "I will count to 10 if you run to me, you will get a big gift. If you can't run, you will get nothing. 1, 2, oh. Hearing this, the little fat boy used up all his strength and rushed towards Luya with his head down. Maybe it was because he rushed too fast, or maybe it was because he was too fat that caused his center of gravity to be unstable. His feet softened and he fell to the ground in front of him. "Be careful," the little kid screamed nervously. At the moment of falling, the little fat boy had only one thought in his mind: it's over. The gift is gone. The expected pain did not appear. The little fat boy was surprised to find that he had floated up without knowing when, and was slowly flying forward. "Ha ha ha, I can fly," he pounced on the air curiously, then laughed out loud as if showing off. Lu Yan had just used the control technique to hold him up and pull him in front of him, but seeing how excited he was, he cancelled the control technique. Without the help, the little fat boy fell with a pop, but fortunately, he was only a few centimeters away and didn't feel any pain. He got up and came to Lu Yan with a flattering smile on his face. Seeing this, Lu Yan took out a first-grade inferior short stick from his storage bag, handed it to him and said, "Ninth brother, you should lose weight." "Thank you, second brother." The little fat boy took the gift, called the other friends and ran away. Next is the time for the second brother and the adults, and they don't care about the children. Lu Yan saluted to Lu Dingbo. "Chief, I'm back. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're back." Lu Dingbo seemed very happy and said it twice in a row. A moment later, in the meeting hall, the Lu clan leader and other main clan members sat in their seats, looking at the pile of magic tools and elixirs on the conference table in front of them, and fell into stagnation. This is the situation. The secret realm is too dangerous. The major forces suffered heavy casualties. I took the opportunity to pick up some things that others didn't want. Lu Yan's calm voice slowly fell. He did not tell the truth about the situation in the secret realm, but just fabricated a simple experience that was easy for the clan members to accept. Although Lu Yan said it simply, everyone knew that being able to collect a huge number of magic tools in such a dangerous environment, the dangers to face were definitely not as easy as he said. Everyone digested it for a while, and finally Lu Dingbo spoke first. "Heir, you have worked hard. Don't do this kind of thing again in the future. You must put your life first in everything. Do you understand?" Lu Yan nodded to show that he knew, and then continued, "With such a large number of resources, the family needs to become stronger as soon as possible. In this dangerous Yanking area, the stronger the family is, the more stable our lives will be." Lu Dingbo's lips moved, and he wanted to say that these were all Lu Yan's spoils of war and he should distribute them, but Lu Yan had made his meaning very clear, so he had to give up. At the same time, he also understood that Lu Yan was already the strongest in the family now. If they didn't want to be a burden on Lu Yan's way forward, they could only use resources to become stronger, play their own role, and reduce Lu Yan's inconvenience on the road in the future, instead of waiting for Lu Yan's help like a weakling. Without saying much, Lu Dingbo took out a thread-bound book from the storage bag and handed it to Lu Yan. "This is the spell water control that you were looking for. I asked someone to buy you a copy." Lu Yan took it quickly, and was very surprised. This way, he had one more prepared magical power. "Thank you, clan leader." The meeting lasted for half an hour. Half an hour later, Lu Feng, Lu Yuan and others filed out of the meeting hall, and everyone's face was full of hope for the future. After everyone left, Lu Yan took out 2 jade bottles from the storage bag and placed them in front of Lu Dingbo and Lu Dinghe. "Lu Yan, what is this?" The two looked at the jade bottles in front of them and asked in confusion. Lu Yan did not keep them in suspense, and said directly, "Foundation building pills." 2. Lu Dingbo's pupils shrank, and he seemed a little unbelievable. Lu Dinghe's eyes widened, and he asked quickly, "2 foundation building pills, where did you get them? Where did they come from?" "Of course, they were robbed." Facing Lu Dinghe's question, Lu Yan just smiled faintly and did not explain. The two of them immediately realized that there was no need to ask such a question. Could this kind of precious elixir fall from the sky in addition to killing people and stealing treasures? Reporting that the guaranteed goal of 300 first orders has been achieved. Thank you very much for your support. Next, Lihu will work hard to update and do his best to write this story. In addition, Lihu has seen some of the questions raised by the big guys, but some questions have been answered in the book, so I will not explain them again. Finally, I hope that those who like this book will not be stingy with your recommendation tickets, monthly tickets and comments. Lihu can accept good and bad ones. Maybe I can find problems in the book and correct them better. It is definitely not for copying book reviews. Chapter 81 Armed Family. The day after Lu Yan returned to the family, Lu Dingbo and Lu Dinghe went to Wuhu Market with a large number of spiritual stones. With the resources Lu Yan brought back and the wealth in Wuhu Bank, they were able to arm the family from head to toe. The great monster in Yankee domain that Lu Yan mentioned before was about to cause chaos, like a huge rock pressing on their hearts. The last wave of grain-eating rats was a sign, and they couldn't help but pay attention. The departure of the clan leader and the third grandfather did not attract the attention of the clan members, and everyone practiced and lived step by step. Lu Yan sat cross-legged in the house, with a newly acquired water control technique spread out in front of him. After a night of study, Lu Ye had basically figured out the operating principle of water control technique, which was basically the same as fire control technique. The only difference was that there was an additional process of turning virtual into real in the process of condensing water. Lu Ye spread out his palm, and the magic power flowed. Soon a ball of water vapor gathered above his palm. Looking at the water mass that was about to take shape, Lu Ye once again operated his magic power according to the method of water control. The water vapor suddenly collapsed towards the center, and finally gathered into a drop of water, floating quietly in Lu Ye's palm. Water control is done. Everything seemed to be a natural process. Opening the skill panel, seeing the water control introduction. 1/100 appearing on the panel, Lu Ye smiled silently. The water control technique is complete, and the next step is to follow the steps to use up all the spell experience that has not reached the peak limit. Putting the water control technique aside, Lu Ye sat cross-legged with his eyes closed, and the 9 broken weapon refining technique obtained from the 9 broken Taoists flowed in his heart. In addition to the basic refining methods, the 9 broken weapon refining technique also includes the 9 broken weapon refining technique created by the 9 broken Taoist and the refining methods of some magic tools. As we all know, once a magic tool is successfully refined, the basic grade and power are finalized. Even if it can be upgraded, it can only be upgraded by 1 grade at most. A few natal magic tools can be continuously integrated with precious materials to advance, and the power will become stronger and stronger. However, this kind of natal magic tool also has a huge disadvantage, that is, the tool is still there, but the person will die. Once the magic tool is seriously damaged, the cultivator will be seriously injured at best, and even his cultivation will be greatly damaged or even his body will die. Not to mention that the natal magic tool is not a common commodity. Not all magic tools will become the natal magic tools of the cultivator. In addition to the corresponding exercises, precious materials are also needed to be refined into matching magic tools, and finally the natal magic tools of the cultivator can be refined. The unique secret technique of the 9 broken Taoist, the 9 tempering tool, has abandoned this disadvantage. The magic tools successfully refined by the 9 broken tool refining technique are not only powerful, but also can consume the corresponding materials to continuously strengthen and improve the grade and power of the magic tools on the original basis. Although the difficulty of upgrading the magic tool will become greater and greater in the future, and if you are not careful, all your previous efforts will be wasted and the magic tool will be damaged, but compared with the disadvantage of the fixed power of the magic tool, most cultivators are willing to take this risk. What's more, this kind of magic weapon is not the life magic weapon. Even if it is damaged, it will not affect the cultivator at all. Moreover, the magic weapon after upgrading and strengthening is more powerful than most magic weapons of the same level, and even the magic weapon above 6 forgings is more powerful than the life magic weapon of the cultivator. After reading it, Lu Ye had an inexplicable sense of déjà vu. After thinking for a long time, he suddenly realized that this is the indispensable strengthening forging in the game played in the previous life. Lu Ye said that he was familiar with this. But the magic weapon can only be strengthened 9 times at most, which is a bit too little. As a big gambler in the game in the previous life, Lu Ye didn't know how many times he fell into the strengthening machine. After studying the secret art of the 9 forging weapon, Lu Ye also took a look at the various magic weapons attached to the 9 breaking weapon refining technique. You don't know until you see it. Lu Ye almost popped his eyes out. It was because the power of each magic weapon recorded in it was extremely terrifying, but relatively speaking, the difficulty of refining was also extremely high. Not only did it require various rare materials, but it also required some strange things, such as lifespan, earth energy, etc. Lu Ye finished reading with relish, his eyes burning. It seems that I have to discuss with my 4th uncle and borrow the weapon refining room to use. However, there was no rush for this matter. Lu Ye put his mood in order and continued to meditate and practice. He was not far from the perfection of the 10th level of key training. During this period, he would first improve his cultivation. The cultivation of key training was really too low. Only by achieving the foundation building, he would have more time and energy to better and faster experience. When it was evening, Lu Dingbo and Lu Dinghe returned to the family, both with a happy face. This time when they went to Wuhou Market, they successfully bought a 2nd-level advanced sect protection formation at Wuhou Xianbao Pavilion, called Xiangang Xingdao Formation. The Xiangang Star Array combines defense, concealment, and spirit gathering. Once it is activated, it gathers the power of the Xiangang star array, and the defense is amazing. 3 or 5 late-stage foundation building cultivators cannot break it for a while, and even the attacks of Jinden's Henrin can withstand a few. This is still the normal state. At the critical moment, the cultivator can even enter the core of the array, put out the 36 Xiangang, and use their own mana to maintain the array, so that the defense is taken to a higher level. This kind of precious array is rare and expensive. Most people cannot afford it, so Lu Dingbo and the others bought it. Even so, in order to buy this array, they directly consumed 40% of the wealth they carried. Summoning all the tribesmen with cultivation, Lu Dingbo took out a small array plate and showed it to all the tribesmen. This is the core of the Xiangang star fighting formation. Once it is set up, the maximum coverage area is 2 miles in radius, and it can also defend against cultivators and monsters in the late stage of foundation building. Now everyone, come one by one, inject a trace of mana into the formation plate. From now on, when you enter and exit the formation, you only need to release your own mana and be recognized by the formation core, and you can enter and exit at will. Patriarch, can this formation protect against evil spirits? Someone asked. Of course it can, Lu Dingbo replied firmly. Lu Feng asked, Clan leader, how much does this formation consume? It consumes about 15 low-grade spirit stones a day, and 5,500 low-grade spirit stones a year, which is still within the family's tolerance. The most important thing is that with this formation, the safety of the clan members can be solved. In the future, we will have more time to practice, and we don't need to arrange people to keep watch. Lu Dingbo's eyes were firm, and he continued, our family has already produced a foundation-building cultivator, but relying on a foundation-building cultivator alone can only maintain the continuation of the family for a short time. Think about the past, and then think about the present. When our cultivation level goes up, can't we even maintain a large formation to protect the clan? Everyone shook their heads. Under Lu Dingbo's command, everyone began to step forward one by one and imprint their own mana in the formation. After everyone had finished imprinting, Lu Dingbo continued, from today on, everyone does not have to save resources and can practice openly. Whoever reaches the perfection of the 10th level of key training first will get this foundation building pill. He slammed an emerald jade bottle on the table heavily, and looked around at everyone present with a lightning-like gaze. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82, Golden Sword Key Breakthrough. When the foundation building pill came out, except for a few people like Lu Yat, the rest of the people all looked at the ordinary emerald green jade bottle with burning eyes. Foundation building pill, that is the foundation building pill that can help people cross the gap between immortals and mortals, so they can't ignore it. Among the people present, the ones who have the greatest hope of obtaining the foundation building pill are Lu Feng, Lu Yuan and Lu Tong. All three are at the 9th level of key training. Compared with Lu Yuan who has just entered the 9th level of key training, Lu Feng's cultivation is closest to the 10th level of key training, and Lu Tong is the second. At this time, the three of them were looking at the foundation building pill, motionless. Lu Dingbo continued, this is not the end, but the beginning. As our Lu family becomes stronger, there will be more and more people who have established their foundation. Sooner or later, there will be a golden elixir or even a unyielding in our Lu family. After a long pause, he said earnestly, but now, all hope lies with you. Lu Dinghe took over the words and continued, next, I will be responsible for answering the questions of the late key training in the clan. If you have any questions, you can come to me every dinner time. Since Lu Dinghe established his foundation, he has communicated less with people, and he has communicated even less with his clan members. It's not that he doesn't want to, but the clan members are afraid of angering him because of his identity as a foundation builder. Lu Dinghe was helpless about this, even though he didn't have this convenient idea. However, Lu Dingbo explained this matter to him before, and he also understood the reason, so he brought it up and emphasized it in the meeting. After Lu Dinghe finished speaking, the others all looked happy. During their practice, having an elder who has built their foundation to answer their questions and resolve their doubts can help them avoid many detours and wrong paths, especially for those who are in the late stage of key training. In addition, we also bought a lot of soul-enriching pills during this trip to the market. From today on, the younger generations in the clan will take soul-enriching pills every day to enhance their ki sense. Looting Bo took out a few bottles of soul-enriching pills from his storage bag. In the past, my Lu family had no resources and could not train more clan members. We could only select clan members with better qualifications. But now that resources are abundant, the training of the younger generation can no longer be the same as usual. After this meeting, those who have children in the family will take a bottle back and withdraw it from the warehouse after use. Do you understand? Understood. This time the voice was more excited. After the meeting, Lu Yat hurried back to the house. He opened the skill panel and saw that the golden sword energy that was originally covered by the silver-white light had reappeared at this moment. Golden sword energy transformation. 0/400000. Breakthrough. Lu Yat was excited. The breakthrough of the golden sword energy to the realm of transformation meant that he would have another magical power, an offensive and killing magical power. However, looking at the 400,000 experience points behind, his expression was a little solemn. The release of the golden sword energy was simple. Not to mention 400,000, even if it was doubled. The time it took would not be too exaggerated. But if while the spells that used magical power points to break through the limit had the experience of 400,000, it would be fatal. In that case, it would be a very long process. However, in just a moment, he was relieved. This represented a door of magical power, a magical power that others were eager to obtain, but he dared to dislike the efficiency of obtaining it in this way. There is nothing to say, he is still young, isn't it just a liver? Lu Yat moved his fingers, aimed at the window and fired a golden sword energy. The condensed energy shot out like lightning, directly hitting the chest of the bronze man in the yard, making a clang sound, and then dissipated. Golden sword key transformation. 1/400000. Lu Yat felt it for a while. After the breakthrough of the golden sword key, the efficiency of the operation of the mana was optimized again. As a result, the speed and lethality of the golden sword key were improved, about 15%. This improvement is not small. After all, this is just the beginning, and there is still a full 399,900 room for improvement. Clapping his hands with satisfaction, Lu Yat stood up and went outside, and began to shoot sword energy towards the sky. After consuming all his mana, Lu Yat returned to the house, sat cross-legged in the small spirit-gathering formation, and continued to meditate and practice ki. Now he only needs 14 points of experience to reach the level of perfection of the 10th level of ki training. At the current speed of accumulating a point of experience in less than 3 days, he can get these 14 points of experience in about a month. At that time, he can build a foundation. If it were someone else, after reaching the perfection of ki training, he would not be in a hurry to build a foundation. Instead, he would use the overflowing mana to continuously wash the flesh and increase the strength of the body. But because Lu Yat had taken the heaven and earth flowing slurry, his physical body had reached the limit of mortals, and his condition couldn't be better, so this step could naturally be omitted. Moreover, his mana was already in the form of thick fog, and his consciousness had reached the limit of ki training. It can be said that he had made full preparations for building the foundation. If Lu Yat only pursued ordinary foundation building, then once he had completed ki training and took the foundation building pill, the success rate of building the foundation would be 90%. But if it was just a human foundation building, would he be willing? He was not willing. With a skill panel, the power of the true fire of the sun, and many other powers that would definitely be there in the future, if he was still timid and unwilling to fight for a future, what was the difference between him and salted fish? If that was the case, it would be better to enjoy life in peace and stability. After sorting out his thoughts, Lu Yat fell into deep meditation. There was no words all night. The next morning, after Lu Yat had breakfast, he went out to the family's iron room. In the iron room, a furnace that had never been extinguished was burning all year round. Lu Yat's fourth uncle Lu Xiao was sitting next to the stove, holding a forged iron sword in his hand, lost in thought. Lu Yat stepped into the iron room, saw Lu Xiao, and smiled and greeted him. Lu Xiao was startled, and quickly put down the iron sword, and said to Lu Yat with a smile on his face, "Nephew, how did you have time to come to my fourth uncle's place?" Lu Yat originally wanted to say that he came to borrow the forging room, but the scene he saw when he just entered the door made him change his mind. He smiled and said, "Can't you come to see my fourth uncle if you have nothing to do? Of course, you can come anytime you want, and my fourth uncle can't wait to welcome you." Lu Xiao brought a bench and motioned Lu Ye to sit down. After Lu Ye sat down, he said, "Uncle, I came here for two main reasons. One is to borrow the refining furnace to practice, the other is to give you a surprise." Lu Xiao looked confused. "You want to practice? Did uncle say that? Nephew, you haven't learned refining, why practice? And you said you would give me a surprise. What kind of surprise is this?" Lu Ye grinned, took out a jade slip, and stuck it on his head. After 2 minutes, he handed the jade slip to Lu Xiao. Lu Xiao took it in confusion, and then, under Lu Ye's gaze, he stuck the jade slip on his forehead. His spiritual sense probed in, and the next second, his eyes suddenly widened, and his whole body couldn't help but tremble slightly. Chapter 83 First Level Refiner. Weapon Refining Technique. The real weapon refining technique. Lu Xiao was so excited that his bony hands were bulging with veins. He tightly grasped the jade slip and looked at Lu Ye, as if waiting for his answer. "Yes, fourth uncle, this is the real weapon refining technique." Lu Ye nodded and answered casually, "I accidentally obtained this in the secret realm. I thought that fourth uncle has always been interested in becoming a weapon refiner, so I brought it to you to see." What Lu Ye showed fourth uncle Lu Xiao was the first part of the 9 broken weapon refining technique on how to refine weapons. He did not reveal the core 9 broken weapon refining technique to Lu Xiao. First, the first part of the 9 broken weapon refining technique was enough for fourth uncle to learn and comprehend. Second, the 9 broken weapon refining technique was the secret of the 9 broken Taoist. Although he allowed himself to learn it, he did not intend to let him spread it widely. "Is this for fourth uncle?" Lu Xiao calmed down a little, but still asked in disbelief. Lu Ye said affirmatively, "Of course." Lu Xiao looked at the jade slip in his hand with a complicated look and mixed feelings in his heart. Back then, the Lu family spent a lot of spirit stones to send him to a weapon refiner in Shaoshan City as a 3-year weapon refiner apprentice, hoping that he could learn some skills from the weapon refiner and become their Lu family's weapon refiner. At the beginning, Lu Xiao was also full of confidence, thinking that he would never let down the family's efforts and expectations, and would definitely become a real weapon refiner, and then return to the family with great glory. Unfortunately, the ideal is beautiful, but the reality is cold and cruel. For 3 whole years, the most things Lu Xiao did were to make fire, do miscellaneous things and take out the garbage. He didn't even have more than 100 conversations with his nominal master, let alone get any useful weapon refinement instructions. At first, he still fantasized that as long as he performed well enough, he would definitely be treated differently by the master. Unfortunately, he was still wrong. Even after the 3-year deadline, when he was kicked out of the weapon refinery, the other party still did not teach him any knowledge about weapon refinement. The young and energetic him was angry that the family's hard work was wasted, and he tried to ask for an explanation, but was eventually beaten out with sticks and almost died. Feeling disheartened, he had no choice but to return to the family and become a blacksmith who made kitchen knives and farm tools to contribute to the family. He swallowed his saliva and said with difficulty, "Nephew, I don't know how to thank you, my fourth uncle." "Why thank you, fourth uncle? You are my fourth uncle. When you become a top weapon refiner, you must remember to make me a few magic weapons." Lu Ye grinned, dispelling the complicated emotions in Lu Xiao's heart. Then he smiled and said, "By the way, fourth uncle, you are knowledgeable and I have also read a little about this weapon refinement technique. It's just right that you can tell me the specific steps of this weapon refinement today." As soon as Lu Ye said this, Lu Xiao's eyes really lit up, and he was no longer immersed in the sad things of the past. He took Lu Ye's hand and talked about it. A month passed in a blink of an eye. Outside the Lu clan's land, birds were singing, flowers were fragrant, and the grass and trees were green. Calculating the time, it was already midsummer. At this time in the weapon refining room, Lu Ye's naked upper body was muscular, and he wielded a fine iron forging hammer in his hand, hitting the iron embryo on the forging table again and again. In the huge furnace next to him, the sun's true fire was shining with dazzling and hot golden light. As he beat rhythmically, sparks continued to burst out, and the iron embryo was gradually hammered into shape. After a while, with a final hammering sound, a straight sword embryo appeared in front of him. Lu Ye did not mean to relax, but became more nervous. After quenching the sword embryo quickly, he formed seals with both hands, and one seal after another fell towards the iron sword. As the last seal entered the sword body, the originally dull sword embryo suddenly burst into a bright light, made a crisp sword sound, and then fell silent. With a long breath, Lu Ya stopped forming seals with his hands, and took the refined iron sword in front of him with a happy face to examine it carefully. After looking at it for a long time, he flicked his finger and the sword made a crisp sound. A first-level low-grade magic weapon, not bad. Lu Ya put the freshly made magic weapon on the weapon rack beside him and stopped paying attention to it. A month later, he had become a first-level intermediate refiner and could refine a first-level medium-grade magic weapon, although the success rate was not very high. This speed had shocked all the clan members. You have to know that Lu Xiao, who had obtained the weapon refining technique with him and had decades of blacksmithing experience, was only about to become a first-level junior refiner and could just refine a first-level low-grade magic weapon. Lu Ya did not comment on this. He opened the skill panel and saw a new skill column at the bottom of the skill. First-level refiner. 575,000. Unlike the experience gained from spells, the experience of refiner is fixed. Every time Lu Ya successfully refines a first-level low-grade magic weapon, he will gain 10 to 50 points of experience. If he refines the first-level medium-grade magic weapon, he will gain 30 to 80 points of experience. However, if the refining fails, he will gain 0 to 3 points of refining experience according to the degree of completion. However, Lu Ya found that once he passed the threshold of 500 experience points, he would only be forced to gain 10 points or even less experience points by refining a first-level low-grade magic weapon, just like the first-level low-grade magic sword he just refined, which only brought him 7 points of refining experience points. This clearly told Lu Ya that if he wanted to quickly improve his refining level, he could only refine a higher-grade magic weapon. However, this was already beyond Lu Ya's expectations. If he followed the previous skill level division, he would have to refine so many magic weapons and consume so many materials to get the terrifying experience points. He casually summoned a ball of water, which turned into a mini water dragon in the air, then climbed onto Lu Ya's body and swam quickly from top to bottom. Lu Ya stood there motionless, enjoying the one-stop service. After the cleaning was finished, a breeze blew by, lifted the robe hanging on the side, and draped it over his body. Lu Ya had mastered the water control technique and the wind control technique. After getting dressed, Lu Ya clapped his hands, and the water dragon went back into the water tank beside him and disappeared. The sunfire in the furnace also went out automatically. He walked out of the weapon refining room, and a boy of 12 or 13 was waiting anxiously outside the door. Seeing Lu Ya coming out, he immediately came up to him and asked expectantly, second brother, how is it, did you succeed?" Seeing the boy's anxious look, Lu Ya pretended to sigh and said nothing. The boy's heart clicked, and he looked carefully at Lu Ya's empty hands, and a feeling of disappointment spread in his heart. That was the family contribution he had accumulated after running errands for the family elders for 2 months. He finally changed some materials and asked his second brother, a genius weapon refiner, to forge a magic weapon, but he failed. Dear friends, if you think the book is okay and have recommendation tickets or monthly votes, please vote for it. Chapter 84: The True Function of the Skill Panel. Seeing him like this, Lu Ya stopped teasing him and said, "Hey, I originally planned to refine it into a first-class medium-grade magic weapon, but it didn't work out well and I only refined it into a low-grade one. It was refined." The boy was immediately overjoyed. "Brother, you are really my brother. Where is it? Let me see, let me see." Lu Ya turned around and gestured, and the boy ran past him in an instant. "The one on the top of the weapon rack is it? Got it, thank you, second brother." Lu Ya watched his eighth brother running in excitedly, and he no longer cared about him, and walked towards his residence. Back at his residence, Lu Ya went to the recliner in the living room and began to close his eyes to rest. He opened the skill panel, and the complete attributes appeared in front of him. Name, Lu Ya. Lifespan, 20/128 years old. Realm, 10th level of key training. 100/100, Kung Fu, peak of Chongchun Kung Fu. 2257-50000. Skills, perfect fire control technique, golden sword key realm. 6410-400000, body protection aura peak. 50000/50000, ground spike peak. 50000/50000, peak of splitting peak sword technique. 50000/50000, peak of splitting peak fist technique. 50,000, peak of exorcism technique. 50000/50000, peak of condensing breath technique. 50000/50000, peak of illumination technique. 50000/50000, peak of controlling objects. 33555/50000, peak of Zhuanyang Yikiju. 44963, 50000, peak of ice cone. 2698, 50,000, peak of fire snake. 7110/50000, peak of palm thunder. 8887, 50000, peak of controlling wind. 48632, 50000, peak of ice arrow. 3105/50000, peak of shocking wind curse. 1548, 5000, peak of controlling water. 4385/5000, first level of refining equipment. 570/5000, magic power, sun true fire, magic power points. 0, in a month, with a blessing of the peak level Chong Chunguang. 3 days ago, Lu Ye successfully reached the perfection of the 10th level of key training. But he was not in a hurry to build a foundation. His intuition told him that if he rashly built a foundation at this moment, the probability of his death would be very high. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Building a foundation is not a trivial matter. He needs to be fully prepared. At least when he feels that the time has come, it will not be too late to build a foundation. He took a look at the various skills. In addition to the newly learned spells and the second level spell of the wind curse, a series of peak limit skills are enough to show how powerful Lu Ye is at this moment. For such a long time, Lu Ye has also roughly figured out the improvement of the skill panel. Before the minor success level, it can only be regarded as the basic use of spells. Normal cultivators can reach or even exceed this level as long as they practice hard. But it is different after the minor success. After the minor success, it is the beginning of the improvement and optimization of spells. After the minor success, every bit of experience accumulated is constantly increasing the power of spells, optimizing the operating efficiency of spells, and reducing shortcomings and flaws. Lu Ye roughly estimated that the power of a spell would rise by 1 level with each level increase, and there would be a small increase after reaching the limit. The Golden Sword Key is a spell that can be practiced at around the second level of key training. After Lu Ye raised it to the peak limit, its power was comparable to the power of a first-order 7th level spell. After breaking through the limit and breaking through the realm of transformation, the power was directly increased by 15%, reaching the upper middle level of a first-order 7th level spell, and this power is still increasing. But only Lu Ye understands this, because he has a skill panel that others don't have. He clearly knows that every effort he makes will be rewarded, and you can always understand the progress of this reward. Many times, it's not that other cultivators don't work hard to practice spells, but that they never get positive feedback in day-to-day practice, or they can't see the improvement of the power of spells, and finally slowly lose the motivation to continue practicing. After all, they don't know that after becoming proficient in a spell, there are still levels of proficiency, minor success, and major success, and they can't know which spell can give birth to a supernatural power after practicing it. It's even more impossible for them to be like Lu Ye, who can gain insights and experience as long as they work hard. The biggest possibility is that they still gain nothing after practicing the spell. Day after day. After sorting out his thoughts, Lu Ye sat up from the recliner. His magic power has been recharged, and he should continue to practice. Not long after, lightning and ice cones accompanied by the sound of whirring wind sounded in Lu Ye's courtyard. On the other side, Lu Dingbo and Lu Dinghe sat in the quiet room and talked to each other. "Brother, have you finally decided?" Lu Dinghe looked into Lu Dingbo's eyes and asked. Lu Dingbo nodded seriously. "It's decided. The family is now on the right track. Dinghe, you have already established your foundation. You won't encounter too much danger for the time being. It's just right that I plan to make a move to establish my foundation while my old bones can still charge. If it succeeds, my Lu family will have 2 foundations, and soon it will even become 3, 4 or even more foundations. What if it fails?" Lu Dinghe lowered his eyebrows and spoke in a low voice. Lu Dingbo smiled freely and carefreely. "If it fails, I have no regrets. Since my father left, my Lu family has been getting worse day by day. Fortunately, My Lu family has a genius like Lu Yat, which has made my Lu family turn around. Ding He, you are right. Our generation of cultivators cultivates to be brave and diligent. If such a great opportunity is placed in front of me, and I don't dare to charge and gamble, then I am afraid that I will never be able to establish my foundation in this life. Lu Dingbo raised his hands. His broad palms were well proportioned, and it was impossible to tell that they were the hands of a man in his 70s. Besides, Lu Yat has no intention of taking over the family, and I don't want to limit his talent with family affairs. If I succeed in building the foundation, I will have at least 100 more years to take care of the family and give him the best practice environment, so that he can run and pursue his own destiny without any worries. By then, maybe my Lu family will become a golden elixir family. Lu Dingbo laughed, as if he had seen a bright future. If it succeeds, everything will be as Big Brother wishes, but Lu Dinghe felt mixed emotions when he heard his big brother's plan. Big Brother's talent was not worse than his, but he had paid too much in the decades of managing the family and seeking a way out for the family. So he wasted time until now. But what? Lu Dingbo waved his hand nonchalantly. Do you think I have come here for nothing all these years? If I fail to build my foundation, the position of the Lu clan leader will be handed over to Lu Feng. Although Lu Feng is upright, he is also flexible. He works seriously and impartially, and puts the family first. The Lu family will not be worse in his hands than in mine. If I fail to build my foundation, you can give the other foundation building pill to Lu Feng. Just explain it to Lu Tong and Lu Yuan. I believe they can understand it. Lu Dinghe nodded to show that he understood. Lu Dingbo continued, Lu Feng is only in his early 50s now, and is still in the golden age of building his foundation. If he uses this foundation building pill, and you assist him, it will be much easier to build his foundation. By then, a family with 2 foundation building pills will be enough to deter villains, and I can give an explanation to my father and grandfather after I die. Chapter 85 Foundation Building Preparation. Lu Dingbo entrusted Lu Dinghe with the arrangements one by one. The two talked for half the night before Lu Dinghe walked out of the quiet room. In the dark quiet room, Lu Dingbo sat cross-legged, his face calm. After a slight sigh, the quiet room fell into complete silence. The next morning, Lu Dingbo announced his decision to close the door and attack the foundation. After the decision was made, although the Lu family wanted to dissuade him, no one spoke in the end, and they couldn't. Lu Dingbo is the patriarch of the Lu family, but he is also a cultivator. He has been protecting the Lu family for half his life, and now it's time for him to live for himself. The door of the number 1 cave house of the ground vein opened with a rumble under the gaze of all the clansmen, and after watching Lu Dingbo enter alone, it closed with a rumble. Looking at Lu Dingbo's slow and determined back, Lu Yu couldn't help but sigh. I hope everything goes well. Then, he turned and left. The patriarch has already attacked the foundation, and he also has to make some preparations. As for the foundation building, Lu Ya did not plan to do it within the family. There was not much spiritual energy in the family's cave. He planned to go to the wild and find a feng shui treasure land with abundant spiritual energy. If the foundation building failed, it would be easier to die in the feng shui treasure land. After telling Lu Dinghe about his intention, Lu Ya stepped out of the protection range of the Xiangang Star Fighting Formation and began to head to the wild. With his current cultivation and the extremely strong and Yang Sun True Fire, there are not many people in the wild who can threaten his life. After leaving the family, Lu Ya casually summoned a long sword, stepped on the long sword and quickly soared into the air, flew towards the west, and soon disappeared from Lu Dinghe's sight. About dozens of miles west of the Lu family, there is an endless mountain range. There are often some monsters that can't live in the mountains and run out to cause trouble to the surrounding families. The Fanfeng leopard that Lu Ya killed before is one of them. Lu Ya chose this place firstly because it has several directions, either leading to Wuhou Market or to Shaoxing City, and there are slightly more monks coming and going, and most of the feng shui treasures are owned. Secondly, there may be spiritual veins under the mountains here, and the spiritual energy is more abundant, so the probability of the emergence of ownerless feng shui treasures with abundant spiritual energy is greater, and he can also clean up the monsters he encounters along the way and collect some flesh and blood and materials. Their Lu family is now rich and powerful, and the consumption is also exaggerated. There is not much to say about daily consumption. Now there are 2 more refiners who need to consume a lot of materials, he and his 4th uncle, so the consumption is even more exaggerated. Although the landlord has surplus food, it is not much. Lu Ye is of course happy to do things that are easy to do. Perhaps Lu Ye's swaggering flying in the air attracted some hostile eyes. In the forest below, a demon bird soared into the sky, let out a fierce roar, and fluttered its wide and powerful wings, turning into a gray lightning, rushing straight towards Lu Ye. Judging from its speed and power, it must be a second-level demon bird. This scene reminded Lu Ye of the first time he flew with a flying object. He also encountered a second-level demon bird, and he almost died at that time. However, at this time, seeing the second-level demon bird coming fiercely, Lu Ye looked very calm. When the demon bird pounced less than 10 meters in front of him, he raised a finger leisurely, and a golden beam fire suddenly appeared. He put his finger to his mouth and blew hard, and the beam fire immediately floated forward. Just after leaving, it suddenly exploded into a golden sea of fire. This golden flame is so hot and so overbearing. Before the second-level demon bird approached the sea of fire, it felt that the blood in its body began to evaporate uncontrollably. The wings that were indestructible enough to cut gold and jade curled up and tightened in the blink of an eye, emitting bursts of burnt smell. Facing this terrifying golden flame, it wanted to stop its body, it wanted to turn around and escape. But it was too late. The golden flame exploded into a sea of fire, and in the blink of an eye it spread to where it was. Wherever the golden flame passed, the space was distorted. When a spark flew onto its feathers, its fear was magnified to the limit. In just a breath, the golden flame completely enveloped it, using its wings, flesh, demonic power, and everything it had as fuel, burning fiercely. The true fire of the sun is so strong and so yang that it can burn everything. Cry, it only had time to make a terrified cry before it could no longer flap its wings. Lu Ye hurriedly put away the true fire of the sun. With this delay, the demon bird with a wingspan of more than 10 meters was burned for a small part. When the wind blew, it turned into black powder and dissipated with the wind. Lu Ye grabbed the remaining half of the bird's body with one hand, and the tempting smell of meat kept drilling into his nose. It's such a loss. I just lost at least several hundred kilograms of second-level flesh and blood. It's not advisable to waste it. Lu Ye's face was full of pain. It was the first time he used the Sun True Fire magic to fight the enemy. He didn't control the strength well, which caused unnecessary waste. However, the Sun True Fire is worthy of being the fire of magic power. The second-level monster bird died in the flames in the blink of an eye, and it didn't even have time to resist. This is indeed because the stupid bird was too fast and plunged into the Sun True Fire, but more importantly, the power of the Sun True Fire was too strong, so it burned it to death the moment it rushed into the sea of fire. He took out the magic weapon long knife and cut off a large piece of flesh and blood from the roasted bird corpse. He tasted it first, and the muscles were tight and strong, and then he ate it in big mouthfuls. After cutting up the rest of the bird corpse, he stuffed it all into the storage bag and set off again. The tragic experience of this second-level monster bird did not cause any fluctuations. Basically, Lu Ye would encounter an attack every 10 miles. Some came alone, while others came in groups to surround and kill Lu Ye. As a result, without exception, all of them rushed into Lu Ye's storage bag and turned into cultivation resources. After burning a large group of tricolor hornets to death with flames, Lu Ye found a 3-story high tricolor hornet hive in the direction they came from. The tricolor hornets are a second-level bee colony, and the queen bee is a second-level monster. Ordinary tricolor hornets also have the strength of the middle stage of key training. They are a major overlord of the surrounding forests. Ordinary second-level monsters and even foundation-building cultivators dare not provoke them. But when they met Lu Ye, who was carrying the true fire of the sun, their tragedy was doomed. As soon as Lu Ye stepped outside the hive, a large group of tricolor hornets the size of a baby's fist rushed out of the hive and rushed towards Lu Ye aggressively. Lu Ye carefully controlled the true fire of the sun, and did not even look at these hornets, just for a fear that he would accidentally set the hive on fire. Under the siege of many hornets, Lu Ye cut off a large piece of honeycomb full of honey, put it directly into the storage bag, and then soared into the sky. The 3-color hornet honey is a second-level primary elixir with mild medicinal power. It is a good material for refining elixirs such as Yang. It can also be directly diluted with water and taken, which has an excellent effect on producing qi. If Lu Ye only harvested this large piece of honeycomb, if it is sold, I am afraid that it will be a big deal. Everyone, remember to vote, and those who support books can also open an automatic subscription to avoid killing the books. ORZ. Chapter 86, Progress in fighting. After Lu Ya collected the 3-color tiger honey and flew a distance, he felt that there was less than 20% of the mana in his body and began to descend towards the forest below. Not long after, Lu Ya came to a small hillside. He landed on a huge rock and sat cross-legged. The peak-level Chong Chun Gong was running, and the spiritual energy of the surrounding heaven and earth swarmed towards his body like young swallows returning to their nests. Lu Ya underestimated the power of the sun's true fire, and even more underestimated its consumption. With this peak-level Chong Chun Gong, the mana consumed by practicing spells on weekdays can be restored in a very short time. Moreover, with the passive operation of Chong Chun Gong, once the mana is lost, it will be quickly replenished. If he wants, he can even keep flying. But after releasing the sun's true fire 4 or 5 times, the speed of mana recovery can no longer keep up with his consumption. Although the magic power is good, it consumes a lot. Lu Ya touched his chin. Maybe this is the trouble of happiness. Half an hour later, feeling the mana refilling in his body, Lu Ya stood up and set off again. However, this time he flew not towards the mountains, but towards the family. The storage bag was already filled with various materials such as flesh, teeth and bones. He had to put these materials back to the family, otherwise he would have nowhere to store the materials he encountered later. He couldn't just carry them in his hands all the time. It was about dozens of miles away, and he had already cleared the dangers on the road. If he flew at full speed, he could get back in just a cup of tea. Not long after, the family residence was already in sight. Lu Ya landed from the air and headed straight for the family warehouse. The family warehouse was an important place for the family, and it was usually guarded by his third uncle Lu Tong, who was at the 9th level of key training. Lu Tong saw Lu Ya coming in a hurry, and was a little confused. Just as he was about to speak, Lu Ya stretched out his hand and patted the storage bag, and then a large number of monster corpses with terrifying auras and roasted smells suddenly appeared in front of Lu Tong with a boom. Lu Tong looked at the corpses of the monsters that separated him from Lu Ya, and his eyelids twitched twice. Although they were all burnt yellow corpses, the aura they exuded still frightened Lu Tong. Except for a peak first-level monster, the remaining 3 were all second-level monsters. Did he kill directly into the monster's lair? Uncle Sen, all these monsters are left to you to deal with. Remember to leave the materials, Lu Ya said hurriedly, and then turned and left. Looking at Lu Ya's hurriedly leaving back, Lu Tong opened his mouth, but in the end, nothing came out. For the next half-month, Lu Ya went out every day, traveling back and forth between the mountains and the family, going farther and longer each time. Even when he came back the last 2 times, he was covered with large pieces of blood and scars. Lu Feng, Lu Tong and others saw it and tried to dissuade him, but every time Lu Ya agreed verbally and set off early the next day. Huff huff, the heavy breathing sound like a leaky bellows echoed in a cave. Lu Ya covered his chest with one hand and lay in the middle of a pile of rubble with a painful face. Not far from him, a golden-backed giant tiger with wings on its back was lying on the ground. Its huge tiger eyes looked forward lifelessly. Hot blood kept flowing from its neck and abdomen, and soon gathered into a pool of blood under its body. This was a golden-winged white tiger that was about to break through to the second-level advanced level. Looking at this mountain range, it was also a hegemon. But at this moment, it died quietly in this unknown cave. After a long pause, Lu Ya took out the healing pills from the storage bag with difficulty, swallowed them one by one, and then sat cross-legged and began to refine the medicinal power. After the medicinal power was completely absorbed, he suddenly spit out a mouthful of blood and his breathing became much smoother. Damn it, I almost fell into your trap, you beast. Looking at the cold golden-winged white tiger, Lu Ya couldn't help but curse. He had clearly used his spiritual sense to investigate, and God knows why there would be a golden-winged white tiger at the peak of the second-level intermediate level resting in the abandoned cave. He was just an innocent key cultivating cultivator who wanted to take a short rest. Recalling the scene when he just entered the cave, he couldn't help but curse again. After cursing, Lu Ya took off the tattered top-grade robe that was scratched and bitten, and then packed up the top-grade shield that was beaten to pieces and put it into the storage bag, and then pulled out the half-broken long sword that was broken on the giant tiger's shoulder blade. Dodging the blood arrows that shot out, Lu Ya sighed. This golden-winged white tiger is worthy of being the most powerful opponent he has encountered since his cultivation. This top-grade longsword is the first top-grade magic weapon he got. It has been with him for a long time, and he thought it would continue to accompany him, but he didn't expect it to break here. As the opponents he faced became stronger and stronger, the first-level magic tools could no longer keep up with his needs. It seems that I still need to get some second-level magic tools. Magic has its limitations. It cannot be used without mana. This time, he planned to take a break when he had only 30% of his mana left, but he didn't expect to encounter this golden-winged white tiger. With the remaining 30% of mana, he used the sun's true fire once, released the wind-shocking curse once, and gave himself a body protection aura, and then it was completely exhausted. Fortunately, the sun's true fire and the wind-shocking curse, which had just entered the peak level, were powerful enough to severely damage it in one encounter, which gave Liu Ya the opportunity to fight it and win the battle. If the mana was exhausted and he encountered this copper-skinned and iron-boned tiger monster with amazing magic power, I'm afraid it would be a different scene. After dismembering the golden-winged white tiger and putting it into the storage bag, Liu Ya leaned against the rock wall, holding the spirit stone in his hand, and silently healed his wounds. Open the skill panel. Name, Liu Ya. Lifespan, 21,128 years. He first looked at his skills. His hard work over the past half-month has allowed him to increase his experience in each skill very quickly. His wind-controlling technique has already reached the highest level, and his wind-shocking curse and water-controlling technique have also reached their peak. His Zuanian Kiju is not far from reaching its peak limit. His experience in Golden Light Sword Ki has even reached over 50,000. And he has already completed 1/8 of the journey to obtain the supernatural power. Is he already 21 years old? Noticing his quietly increasing lifespan, Liu Ya sighed inwardly. He has been in this world for more than 4 years. From being cautious at the beginning, he has slowly grown to the point where he can kill a second-level intermediate monster without changing his expression even with the wounds. If it were in his previous life, this age would be a fun age, with his head full of hormones and dopamine. However, Liu Ya asked himself, if he were given another chance to go back to his previous life and be a safe and stable ordinary person, he would probably refuse without hesitation. Just like an eagle spreading its wings and flying high, having seen how high the sky is and how thick the earth is, how could it compete with sparrows for the plump reptiles that wake up every morning? It was not until the second half of the night, when his injuries were almost healed, that Liu Ya got up and walked out of the cave. Thank you all for voting. Thank you very much. Chapter 87 Black Turtle Shield. The sky tonight was pitch black, like a huge curtain, blocking all the moonlight and starlight. The forest outside the cave was silent, with only one or two beast roars or dying cries drifting in the wind. After learning from the lesson of the golden-winged white tiger, Liu Ya dared not fly in the air anymore. Saving a little bit of mana was a good thing, as it could save his life at a critical moment. After jumping down from the cave, Liu Ya used a wind control technique, and his body bounced and jumped quickly in the forest with a breeze. If he didn't have the sun true fire, even if he had 100 more courage, he wouldn't dare to walk alone in the mountains and forests in the middle of the night. But now that he has the sun true fire, the most rigid and yang body protection, the biggest danger in the night, the evil spirits and weirdness, no longer pose a threat to him. Ordinary evil spirits and weirdness will be evaporated by the sun true fire before they get close. Even if he encounters a terrifying evil spirit that can threaten Jinden's Henren, he has the sun true fire to protect his body, and there is a high probability that he can escape with his life. After traveling all the way and killing dozens of strange creatures that tried to attack him, Liu Ya finally walked out of the forest. After leaving the mountains, the danger level dropped a lot. Liu Ya no longer saved his mana, and drove the magic weapon into the sky again. Inside the Liu family, Lu Dinghe was sitting cross-legged above the main gate of the family, looking directly at the direction where Liu Ya left. He waited for half the night, and just when he was about to leave to look for Liu Ya, a figure quickly enlarged in his eyes. It was Liu Ya. Seeing Liu Ya return safely, Lu Dinghe breathed a sigh of relief, quickly opened the Xiangang star array, and welcomed Liu Ya in. Third Grandpa, Liu Ya put away the magic weapon and greeted him. Lu Dinghe nodded. Seeing Liu Ya's expression, he frowned and relaxed, and finally said, "It's getting late. Go back and rest. With Grandpa and Uncles here, it's not your turn to work so hard." Liu Ya grinned. "I know, Third Grandpa, you are idle." He naturally knew that the elders of the family cared about him, but some things could not be stopped by concern. Seeing Liu Ya like this, Lu Dinghe did not persuade him anymore. "You have your own ideas. Third Grandpa knows that he can't persuade you, but everything is based on life. Only by living can you have a future. Do you understand? Lu Yan nodded heavily. Seeing this, Lu Linghe said no more, patted Lu Ya's shoulder, and slowly walked towards his residence. Lu Ya turned and walked towards the family warehouse, handed the golden-winged white tiger to his third uncle Lu Tong, and then returned to his refining room. After a short rest, Lu Ya began the preparations before refining. The previous battle damaged all his offensive and defensive magic tools and made them unusable. After more than a month of practice, his experience in refining magic tools has reached 3,680, 5,000. When his experience exceeded 2,500, Lu Ya began to refine high-quality magic tools. When his experience exceeded 3,500, he began to try to refine top-quality magic tools. Although the success rate is not high, each refining will give you certain insights and gains. Taking a skull as big as a table, Lu Ya selected the matching materials and directly threw a little sun fire into the furnace. The blazing fire instantly rose. Lu Ya's ability to refine tools so quickly depends largely on the power of the sun fire, which can quickly melt all kinds of refining materials. If ordinary refiners use ordinary fire, it will take a lot of time to melt a material. If the conditions are better, the efficiency will be much higher if the earth fire is used to refine tools. Therefore, many refiners basically set up refining rooms where there is earth fire. However, Lu Ya didn't have to worry about the slow melting speed. The only thing he had to worry about was not being able to control the sun's true fire, which would melt a material into ashes. Carefully wrapping the skull with the sun's true fire, the golden flame quietly licked the jade bones. Soon, under Lu Ya's control, some debris fell from the flames, and the skull became smaller and smaller, gradually transforming into a semi-colloidal material. During this process, Lu Ya continued to add some metal materials and refine and mix them. When the skull was completely refined into a semi-colloidal material, it had already shown a cold metallic color. Quickly taking it out, Lu Ya swung the forging hammer and began to hammer rhythmically. After 2 hours, as Lu Ya continued to hammer, a small shield with a diameter of only 30 centimeters gradually took shape. As the shield gradually took shape, Lu Ya's eyes became brighter. When the last hammer fell, he quickly formed a seal and hit the seals into the shield one by one. After a while, as Lu Ya finished the last seal, the small and delicate shield slowly released the warm color of the glaze, and when the glaze color reached its peak, the first level of weapon refining. 3,780, 5,000, it's done. Lu Ya picked up the shield and input a ray of magic power. The warm white jade light surged from the shield surface and condensed into a huge black turtle on the surface of the shield. The spiritual power takes shape, which is the characteristic of the best magic weapon. Lu Ya's mind moved, and the originally small shield suddenly became more than 7 or 8 times larger, like a solid wall, blocking Lu Ya in front of him. The second mode of this shield can be activated when encountering extremely terrifying attacks, which will greatly enhance the defense ability of the shield. The disadvantage is that it cannot move and can only block attacks in the direction of the shield. Even so, it can be called excellent. Since you are made of tortoise shell, I will call you the Black Turtle Shield. He patted the shield with great satisfaction, and then put it into the storage bag. Since this shield was made by him, he could use it as long as he refined it a little. With this shield, Lu Ya's defense power returned to the previous level, and even went further. Seeing that time was running out, Lu Ya waved his hand to clean his body and began to meditate to recover his injuries and magic power. An hour later, Lu Ya stood up, and the fatigue in his eyes disappeared. Leaving the weapon refining room, Lu Ya returned to his residence and began to practice various magic in the courtyard. His injuries have not yet healed, so he plans to recuperate in the clan for the next 2 days, just in time to refine a handy long sword magic weapon. 3 days later, Lu Ya rushed out of the clan land with a sharp magic weapon long sword, and headed towards the distant mountains again. Arriving at the edge of the mountain with ease, Lu Ya identified the direction. Then turned into a phantom and rushed into the dense forest. Moving forward quickly, Lu Ya soon returned to the cave where he encountered the golden-winged white tiger a few days ago. As the overlord of this area, the golden-winged white tiger is at the top of the food chain. If there is a place that is most likely to be a spiritual place, then the golden-winged white tiger's nest must be one of them. And since it can appear in this cave, Lu Ya guessed that its nest must not be too far away from here. What he has to do is to carefully search in all directions with a cave as the center. Everyone, remember to vote. Chapter 88, Unknown Spiritual Land. After looking at the direction of the mountain, Lu Ye thought for a moment and decided to search from that direction first. As he was going deep into the mountain, Lu Ye was very careful along the way, and kept his breath-holding technique activated, fearing that he would encounter any high-level monsters again. He spent the whole morning searching for a full 20 miles, and found one in a place with abundant spiritual energy. However, there lived a second-level high-level monster inside. If Lu Ye's breath-holding technique was not strong enough, it might have been discovered by the other party. Carefully withdrawing from the other party's territory, Lu Ye had no choice but to start returning. After returning to the cave, Lu Ye chose a new direction and set off again. A venomous snake with a black body and only the thickness of a middle finger shot down from the treetops, with an extremely fast speed, but only a very subtle hissing sound in the air. When it broke into Lu Ye's body 3 feet away, the invisible wind surrounding Lu Ye for 3 feet had already reacted, and the breeze turned into a sharp blade, blocking the venomous snake. Silently, the venomous snake hit the wind blade. The snake's body was split in half and fell to the ground with a snap. Even so, the two halves of the snake body did not die immediately. They twisted desperately among the fallen leaves, revealing their sharp fangs, and moved towards Lu Ye's position with extreme ferocity. Lu Ye fired 2 golden sword auras, completely smashing it into snake soup. Such attacks had been experienced too many times in the forest, and they could no longer arouse his inner emotional fluctuations. This time, he explored for a full 30 miles and finally stopped under a cliff. Under the cliff, there were piles of bones, all kinds of bones piled up like mountains. The closer to the rock wall, the more energy contained in the bones. On the contrary, the farther away, the bones had been completely crushed into slag. Lu Ye even saw a large number of claw marks at the location of the bone slag. It seemed that a monster jumped down from the top of the cliff and accidentally crushed these skeletons when it fell. He carefully observed the palm print of the monster and found that the shape was basically consistent with that of the golden-winged white tiger. He immediately realized that he must have found the right place. The concentration of spiritual energy here is already very high. According to Lu Ye's comparison, it should be only slightly lower than the second-level spiritual land occupied by the second-level advanced monster he discovered before. But even so, it is enough to build a foundation. Lu Ye flew into the air and flew up along the cliff. After flying for more than 50 feet, Lu Ye finally found a large cave that was 1.5 feet high. There were many claw marks and bloodstains on the edge of the cave. The inside was deep and you couldn't see the end at a glance. Out of caution, he first took out a black tortoise shield from the storage bag, and then brushed himself with a protective spiritual light, then gently landed at the entrance of the cave and threw a handful of stones into the dark cave. After the stones were thrown, he immediately listened attentively. The sound of the stones hitting the wall was very clear, and there was no other sound. But considering the special ability of the golden-winged white tiger, he waited for a long time, and used 7 or 8 methods to test it. After there was no movement, he finally let go of his heart and began to walk slowly towards the depths of the cave. When he walked into the cave, Lu Ye thought that the smell would be very unpleasant, but along the way, everything was clean and there was not even a trace of odor. The entrance of the cave was only 1.5 feet high, but when Lu Ye walked into it, he found that the cave was more than 40 meters deep, presenting the shape of a snake-necked bottle slanting downward. At the bottom of the cave was a huge open space. The highest point of the cave was more than 5 feet, and the width was more than 20 feet. Such a huge space was enough for Lu Ye to practice. The concentration of spiritual energy at the bottom of the cave was 1 level higher than what he felt outside. This is it. Lu Ye was very satisfied with the environment here. He took out a set of array plates from the storage bag and, according to the directions given in the manual, he drove the array plates into the wall of the cave bit by bit. The array center was arranged not far from where he was meditating. This is a set of one-time small and medium-sized concealment arrays, which have a very simple function and can only conceal spiritual energy. The maximum duration is half a year, and it will be automatically scrapped after expiration. Lu Ye specially prepared it for this situation. After inserting several medium-quality spiritual stones into the slot in the center of the array disk, Lu Ye activated the array disk core in his hand. Suddenly, the spiritual energy that was originally easily sensed began to weaken at a speed visible to the naked eye, until there was only a slight fluctuation of spiritual energy. Even if Lu Ye stood at the entrance of the cave, he could not feel the rich spiritual energy inside the cave. After arranging the array, Lu Ye took out a sound transmission note from the storage bag. After inputting the information, the sound transmission node burned without fire and soon disappeared without a trace. The other half of the sound transmission node is currently in Lu Dinghei's hand. Feeling the fluctuation of the sound transmission node, he took it out of the storage bag and input a trace of mana into it. Suddenly, the information entered by Lu Ya appeared in front of Lu Dinghei. After reading the information, Lu Dinghei's eyes were relieved and worried. Is it finally time to build the foundation? Lu Ya and Lu Dingbo knew what he was thinking. They could only give him the greatest hope and could not say anything against it. Without much hesitation, his voice rang directly beside Lu Feng's ears. Lu Feng, from today on, the family is closed. All members of the family are forbidden to go out. All of you should practice with peace of mind. Wait for me. Notice when the seal will be lifted. Lu Feng, who was teaching several juniors about raising animals in the spirit beast circle, looked serious when he heard this and nodded solemnly. Then he looked at the juniors around him and said, from today on, the family is closed and no one is allowed to go out. You should go and inform all family members of this information first. After you have informed them, come to me again. Yes, uncle. Several people responded in unison and left quickly. Lu Yer was busy for half a day and finally cleaned up the cave and settled down. He was not in a hurry to build his foundation, but instead polished his magic power every day, practicing various spells and sword and fist techniques. When he was hungry, he ate some monster meat and bigu pills, and when he was thirsty, he condensed some water through the water control technique to drink. As time passed, Lu Ya still repeated the previous action slowly. Until a month later, after he performed the Zuanyang Yiki Ju once, he finally pushed the Zuanyang Yiki Ju to the peak limit. In an instant, a scorching breath swept the entire cave, and Lu Ya's whole body turned red in an instant. Then, he felt that the blood flow inside his body was getting faster and faster, and his muscles expanded and contracted, and so on and so forth. The body that had already reached its limit began to strengthen again, and the magic power that had become a thick fog was also gradually refined, moving towards a thicker level. In just half a quarter of an hour, Lu Ya's physical strength increased by 2 points, and the magic power in his body was about to liquefy. So Lu Ya knew that the time for his foundation building had come. Dear all, remember to vote. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89, Foundation Building. Lu Yer did not stop. He quickly rushed to a corner of the cave and pushed out a huge stone ball that was nearly 2 meters long and had been dug in advance. The stone ball weighing more than 10 tons rolled over the ground with a loud rumbling sound. He pushed the stone ball all the way to the entrance of the cave, completely blocking the cave. The light was blocked by the stone ball, and the cave quickly dimmed. However, Lu Ya had already prepared several lighting stones in advance, and now they were emitting a faint light. Lu Ya sat down cross-legged. Without any hesitation, after taking a deep breath, the blood, spiritual power and consciousness in his body became agitated instantly. In layman's terms, foundation building is to continuously condense and compress the spirit, energy and spirit of a cultivator. After all the 3 aspects of spirit, energy and spirit have undergone transformation, the most essential and solid part will eventually condense and return to the Danshan to condense into the only foundation of Taoism. Condensation and compression will inevitably bear huge pressure. The foundation building of humanity uses the foundation building pill to create this huge pressure with the help of medicinal power, and the medicinal power will reduce part of the pressure of the 3 aspects of spirit, energy and spirit that the cultivator has to bear. This allows the cultivator to focus more on refining the essence of his own spirit, energy and spirit, and introduce it into the Danshan to consolidate it into the foundation of the Tao. Although this method is less stressful, gentler and safer for the cultivator, it is not enough for the self-tempering and transformation. Even if the foundation of the Tao is successfully built, the fighting power will be weak because the spirit, energy and spirit have not been sufficiently trained. The foundation of the underground Tao is built with the help of extremely precious natural treasures. These natural treasures are often divided into 3 categories: spirit, energy and spirit, representing the physical body, mana and consciousness respectively. Take a natural treasure as the cornerstone, and directly integrate its essence into the foundation of the Tao, thereby reducing the workload of the cultivator by 1/3, which also means reducing the failure rate by 1/3. And the cultivator who integrates the natural treasures will have a trace of the characteristics of the natural treasures in the foundation of the Tao, which may be sharp or defensive, and so on. As for the cultivators who build their foundation in the underground way, because they have reduced their workload by 1/3, they have more time to condense the remaining 2 paths, and the degree of quenching is higher than that of the foundation in the human way. Moreover, the foundation in the way also has a trace of the characteristics of heavenly materials and treasures. After building the foundation in the way, the combat power is naturally stronger. According to legend, there are even some peerless treasures among the heavenly materials and treasures that can simultaneously enhance 2 or even 3 paths of spirit, energy and spirit. The foundation built with this can be called the pinnacle of the foundation in the underground way, comparable to the foundation in the heavenly way. In short, the foundation in the underground way cannot be achieved by those who are not powerful, have a great background and great luck. For ordinary cultivators, if they want to become the top batch, the range of choices is very small. They can either choose the weaker foundation in the human way, or they can choose the foundation in the heavenly way, which is 10 times dead and no life, and under the witness of the magnificent heavenly way, they can absorb the great power into themselves and build the strongest foundation in the way. This is also the difference between the foundation in the heavenly way and the foundation in the underground way and the foundation in the human way. Anyone who builds the foundation of the heavenly Tao must first bear the 4 paths of physical body, mana, spiritual consciousness and the gaze of the heavenly Tao at all times, which is a huge pressure on the cultivator himself from all directions. In the pressure, the 3 paths are tempered and transformed, and the most essential part is obtained and returned to the Danshan Ki Si. In this process, due to the gaze of the heavenly Tao, the 3 essences will also be stained with a trace of the breath of the heavenly Tao. Afterwards, the 3 essences that have been condensed to the extreme with the breath of the heavenly Tao must be condensed into one and rammed into the foundation of the Tao. If the essence of the foundation of the human and earthly Tao is mud and bricks and stones, then the 3 essences condensed by the foundation of the heavenly Tao are solid steel bars. It is easy to mix mud together, and it is not difficult to break bricks and stones and refire them, but if you want to force the 3 steel bars to merge into one, the difficulty will soar by many times. If the cultivator is lucky enough to complete the first 2 steps, then the heavenly Tao will give a reward. But this reward is not taken casually, and it is usually distributed in the form of thunder tribulation. After surviving the thunder tribulation, the foundation of Taoism is baptized by the heavenly Tao, and from then on, it is harmonious and unified, and the strongest foundation of Taoism is built. If you cannot survive the thunder tribulation, not only will you not receive the heavenly Tao reward, but your foundation of Taoism will also collapse, and then you will die. Due to various factors, countless Xianjiao cultivators in ancient and modern times have fallen under the heavenly Tao foundation building. Anyone who succeeds will most likely become a top giant in the world of cultivation in the future. In other words, in their time, they represent the world of cultivation. As Lu Ya's blood, mana and consciousness boiled, Lu Ya's consciousness, which was still clear under great pressure, could feel an inexplicable, vast and ethereal existence casting a ray of light on his position. Therefore, Lu Ya's already great pressure was added to the mental pressure. Lu Ya understood that this should be the so-called heavenly Tao's gaze. The blood flowed faster and faster, and the majestic heat wave spread throughout his body. His skin was burned red, and then it seemed as if there were billions of ants crawling around all over his body, and the itch went deep into his bones, almost torturing people to go crazy. At the same time, the mana in Lu Ya's body was spinning faster and faster, and the spiritual pressure on his meridians was getting bigger and bigger. Gradually, not only did his meridians bear the huge spiritual pressure, but even his body felt like it was about to burst. Finally, the divine consciousness in his mind turned into a storm, setting off a storm in his mind, one wave higher than the other, each one hitting the bottom line of his reason, as if he would be broken through the bottom line in the next second, going crazy and dying. This was a huge pressure from all directions without dead ends. Lu Ya thought that it would be very difficult to build the foundation of the heavenly Tao, but he never thought that it would be so terrifying. It had just begun, and he was almost unable to hold on. He could not imagine how those successful monks who existed and were legendary did it. In fact, what he didn't know was that if someone else came to build the foundation of the heavenly Tao, it would be 100 times more painful than he was now. If it weren't for his strong physical body after practicing physical training, taking the heaven and earth flowing slurry, strengthening the 3 paths of spirit, energy and soul again, and practicing dual cultivation with the saint of yin-yang demon sect. Using the supreme secret method of demon sect, taking her essence and training her own spiritual consciousness, he would have died under this tremendous pressure. With his spiritual consciousness extinguished, his physical body collapsed, and his magic power rioting. Building the foundation is a process of continuous pressure and continuous tempering. Lu Ye has completed this process a lot in advance. After reaching the peak limit of Zhuanyang Yi Qiju, his physical body is comparable to that of a cultivator in the early stage of building the foundation. Time passed by, and Lu Ye was still struggling. Under the tremendous pressure, his physical body, magic power and spiritual consciousness all began to be passively compressed continuously to resist the more terrifying pressure. His muscles began to become tighter, the gaps between his bones became smaller and smaller, his mana was almost compressed into line, the thick fog gradually began to liquefy, and his consciousness seemed to be thrown onto a forging table, becoming more and more solid with each slap. This was just the beginning, and this would be an extremely long and extremely torturous transformation process. Dear all, remember to vote. Chapter 90, Foundation Building. In the dim cave, Lu Ye sat cross-legged on a cushion, his brows furrowed, his teeth clenched, and veins popped out from all over his body. He seemed to be under a 10,000-ton hydraulic press, every inch of his bones, every inch of his muscles, and even every cell were crushed, and then restored to their original state under the influence of his will and spiritual energy. He seemed to be drowned in the deep sea, and the strong sense of suffocation brought by the terrifying water pressure everywhere, up and down, left and right, almost made him faint. It was as if he was forced to jump off a cliff thousands of feet high, like a meteor passing by, watching himself smashed at the bottom of the cliff, and then jumping off the cliff thousands of feet high again, repeating over and over again. In this process, his consciousness was stretched and relaxed again and again like a rubber band, his flesh cells were crushed and condensed, and his magic power became thicker and thicker. Outside his body, the rich spiritual energy, under his traction, formed a huge spiritual energy vortex with him as the center, and then was swallowed by Lu Ye, supplying his increasing consumption. The vortex kept spinning, and his body absorbed a large amount of spiritual energy. The power of flesh and blood broke out in full force, pushing his body and constantly bombarding the invisible barrier. Lu Ye knew that it was a transformation, an opportunity. Although every impact would make his body tremble and blood mist burst out, he still ignored it, gritting his teeth and constantly bombarding the barrier in his body. Breakthrough. The bombardment was stronger and stronger, making his body comparable to the initial stage of foundation building, almost shattered, but he still insisted. I can withstand it. I can definitely withstand it. Lu Ye's eyes were red, his breathing was rapid, and he roared, and launched another attack. With the help of the spiritual pressure from the outside to the inside, the vast and endless spiritual energy, and the pressure of the heavenly way, break through the barrier of the flesh, complete the transformation, and condense the essence of the flesh, boom boom boom. Blood overflowed from the corners of his mouth, and many cracks appeared in his body, like a porcelain that was about to break. The barrier under the foundation of the heavenly Dao was much more difficult than he had imagined. Even though he had attacked it thousands of times, bleeding all over and covered with cracks, he still could not break through. I can definitely break through. If others can do it, I can do it. Lu Ye gritted his teeth and accelerated the operation of the peak-level Chongchun Gong. He immediately absorbed more spiritual energy from the heaven and earth and continuously nourished his body. This nourishment lasted for an unknown period of time. Until Lu Ye could no longer store spiritual energy nutrients in his cells, he suddenly opened his eyes and two lightning flashed through his eyes. Break it for me, he roared, and the power tide that had accumulated in his body for too much time instantly exploded in his body, roaring in all directions and spreading to all parts of his body in the blink of an eye. His body turned into an invisible barrier, trying his best to block this wave of power tide that was higher than the other wave. Once, twice, 3 times. The frequency of the tidal bombardment became faster and faster, and the power became stronger and stronger. Even the seemingly indestructible barrier made a cracking sound, and a trace of cracks appeared in Lu Ye's perception. Sensing the appearance of the crack, Lu Ye roared in his heart, and with all his strength, he launched a final attack on the invisible barrier. Crack! A subtle sound came from the invisible barrier, and then it suddenly collapsed under the bombardment of the endless tide of power. The moment the barrier collapsed, Lu Ye spit out a mouthful of blood. All the meridians and flesh in his body seemed to be shattered at this moment, and then recondensed in the next moment. As it collapsed and condensed, his body trembled, and a stream of extremely pure blood and energy grew from his flesh and blood, mixed with a wisp of indifferent and ruthless breath from the way of heaven, and appeared in his dantian in an instant. At the moment this wisp of blood and energy appeared in his dantian, Lu Ye's body shook, and his almost collapsed body was frozen. All the flesh, blood, all the meridians, and all the bones, all recondensed at this moment. The three paths of spirit, energy, and spirit, the essence of flesh and blood, condensed. Lu Ye's eyes lit up, and the essence of his body had already condensed. One of the three barriers had been overcome. Without waiting for a moment, Lu Ye pinched his hands together and the Chongchun Gong was running wildly again. The terrifying spiritual energy roared in, and even made a hissing friction sound because of the fast speed. The mana that was already in the form of thick fog continued to condense and compress in this almost crazy operation. The mana that was originally like a stream seemed to be under heavy pressure from the upstream, and it moved forward wildly in the meridians like a dragon passing through. The pain like a knife scraping was transmitted from every meridian to his mind, and the consciousness that was already under great pressure almost collapsed. Lu Ye frowned, and the long-term meditation made him force himself to enter a deep level of cultivation. As Lu Ye entered into a state of meditation, his originally frowned brows gradually relaxed, and the mana in his body gradually condensed in the operation. Tick, tick, the crisp sound of a drop of rain falling into the lake woke Lu Ye from his deep state of meditation. Then, Lu Ye, who was in the state of introspection, saw that a milky white rain was falling in his dantian. The rain was getting heavier and heavier, gradually gathering into streams on the dantian land. The streams gathered more and more, gradually forming a lake. As more and more streams flowed into the lake slowly grew larger. Lu Ye personally witnessed the birth of an ocean from his dantian. When the last drop of rain fell into the ocean, the vast dantian ocean vibrated at the same time, and a touch of milky white magic power quietly appeared next to the blood essence. At the moment when the essence of the two paths of blood and ki condensed, Lu Ye's mind was in turmoil. That vast consciousness was all gathered in his mind, so Lu Ye's consciousness, which had reached the limit of ki training, was shaken. His eyes were fierce, and he used the huge spiritual pressure to continuously forge and temper his consciousness. At the same time, the true fire of the sun began to burn outside his consciousness. His consciousness seemed to have become a dough that was kneaded at random. Constantly squeezed and deformed, his thoughts turned fast and slow, the pain became stronger and stronger. Under the scorching of the sun's true fire, fragments of consciousness kept peeling off from his consciousness and being burned by the flames. The pain of being burned by the raging fire directly fell on his consciousness, and the severe pain made Lu Ye couldn't help but roar out. "Concentrate for me." The surging pain accompanied Lu Ye's low roar, turning into an indestructible will, forging and refining his huge consciousness that was about to collapse. The consciousness was getting smaller and smaller, and the light in Lu Ye's eyes was getting weaker and weaker. At the moment when the light in Lu Ye's eyes was about to dissipate, a breathtaking silver white suddenly burst out from the consciousness that was condensed to the limit. A bit of silver white bloomed with infinite light, and in the blink of an eye, Lu Ye's consciousness was silver white, and the strength of the consciousness doubled, spreading outward from his body, and spreading to 200 meters before barely stopping. The silver white essence of consciousness has been condensed. I'm late, everyone. The baby's allergic and has been crying all night. I have just pacified him. I have to stay up late tonight and post 3 updates. Chapter 91, Foundation Building. Looking at the 3 essences in his dantian, which represented his spirit, energy and spirit, Lu Ye's eyes were solemn. After taking a deep breath, his consciousness turned into a pair of invisible hands, and he brazenly blended the 3 distinct essences together. The blood red, milky white and bright silver colors burst into dazzling light at the moment of contact, accompanied by a tooth-grinding crackling sound. Lu Ye only felt that what was in his consciousness hand was not 3 essences, but 3 kinds of natural enemies that were incompatible with each other, with no possibility or sign of fusion. The 3 collided with each other, and the roar echoed in his dantian ki and even in his body. 3-color light burst out from his dantian, and the light became more and more, almost tearing his body apart so that he could burst out from it. Not good, Lu Ye suddenly spit out a mouthful of blood, and tried his best to maintain his consciousness hand, holding the 3 essences in his palm tightly. At this time, if he let go, the 3 essences would be separated and could no longer be gathered, let alone merged into one. Without fusion, the foundation of Taoism could not be formed, and his foundation building could only end in failure. What should I do? What should I do? Liu Ye tried his best to maintain the hand of consciousness, but as time went by, the cracks on the hand of consciousness became more and more, and it could break at any time. It is easy to fuse oil and bricks, but it is too difficult to fuse steel, unless the steel is melted. A flash of lightning seemed to flash through Liu Ye's mind, and then he was confused. Melt the steel. In just a moment, the confusion faded, then melt them. Endless flames broke out in Liu Ye's consciousness. The flames were golden like the sun, and in the blink of an eye, a flame furnace burning like the sun was formed outside the three essences. Liu Ye condensed into human form, stood outside the flame furnace, looked at the three essences in the flames, and grasped the void with one hand, and a giant hammer formed entirely by consciousness appeared in his hand. He raised a giant hammer high and faced the flame furnace, like a great god, looking down at the blazing golden sun in front of him. Suddenly, the divine spirit swung its arm, and the giant hammer swept across the starry sky, and instantly fell into the golden sun. Dang! A terrifying sound wave was transmitted, and countless flames and sparks suddenly rose. The golden sun suddenly expanded a circle, and then suddenly returned to its original state. Liu Ye looked closely, and the three essences of spirit, energy, and spirit in the flame furnace seemed to be unable to withstand the scorching of the sun's true fire, and they moved a little closer to each other. His eyes were bright, and the sun's true fire continued to output. The giant hammer of consciousness continued to fall into the sun furnace formed by the sun's true fire. Every time the hammer fell, there were sparks, and the distance between the three became closer. Liu Ye completely transformed into tireless and majestic divine spirit, driving the sun with a giant hammer, like an ancient legend that has never been extinguished, illuminating the entire Danshan universe. Bang! Another hammer was swung out, and in the golden sun furnace, there was no gap between the three essences of spirit, energy, and spirit, and they were tightly attached to each other. At the moment when the three were initially fused, an indescribable breath rose from Liu Ye's body. Although it was only a trace, it revealed a Taoist charm that was ethereal and out of this world. It was a unique breath of foundation building. Without stopping, Liu Ye calmed down again, hammering the three essences one after another, allowing them to slowly merge into one in the great sun furnace, transformed by the sun's true fire. I don't know how long it took, maybe a moment, or maybe 100 years. When Liu Ye hammered down again, it was no longer the loud sound of metal hitting metal, but a solid touch. This solid touch alone can make people think of the four words indestructible. Liu Ye placed his eyes in the great sun furnace, and saw that the blood, magic power, and spiritual consciousness representing the three paths of essence, spirit, and spirit had all disappeared at this moment. Only a cornerstone emitting this chaotic color was lying quietly in the great sun furnace. Even the sun's true fire that could burn everything in the world had no effect on it. Is this my foundation? Liu Ye muttered to himself, looking at the chaos foundation stone and the sun's true fire. The great sun furnace dissipated, completely exposing the chaos foundation stone in front of Liu Ye. Looking at the foundation stone in front of him, Liu Ye finally couldn't help laughing out loud. Then, his mind moved, and the chaos foundation instantly rushed towards the Danshan Key Sea below, shot into the milky white Mana Ocean, and then went straight down, finally landing at the bottom of the Danshan Key Sea, as if supporting the entire Danshan Key Sea. As the foundation of the Tao stabilized, Liu Ye's aura began to surge uncontrollably, and an unprecedented sense of strength spread in his body and mind. His mana was so pure, his consciousness was so strong, he felt a terrifying vitality emanating from his body. That was the manifestation of his lifespan increasing rapidly. The all-round rapid progress and all-round strength brought about the transformation of the life level. From then on, Liu Ye, was no longer immortal, but became a truly extraordinary and otherworldly cultivator. He quickly checked the skill panel. Name, Liu Ye. Lifespan, 21,278 years old. Realm, first level of foundation building. 1/100, Kung Fu, peak of Chongqing Kung Fu. 4,582 50,000. His lifespan, which was originally limited to 128 years, soared by 150 years to 278 years. However, considering his current age of 21, he has not even lived to 1/10 of his lifespan. Such a long lifespan made Liu Ye smile. Living too long should also bring troubles. From now on, I am also a foundation building cultivator. From now on, I, Liu Ye, can go anywhere in the world, From being cautious when he first crossed over, to being confused when he killed someone for the first time, to every day and night he spent to gain experience in order to become stronger, to surviving a near-death experience in the Geoduin secret realm, it took a full 4 years to finally build his foundation at this moment. Luyur was extremely happy, and the smile on his face grew bigger and bigger, and finally turned into a loud laugh. Suddenly, a chilling feeling rose in his heart, and his laughter stopped abruptly. Then he looked up at the top of his head reflexively, and there was a thick dark rock above his head. But Luyur's eyes seemed to penetrate the thick rock layer and saw the sky outside. At this moment, in the sky outside, with Luyur's cave as the center, large patches of dark clouds quickly gathered, and dazzling purple-gold lightning flashed in the dark clouds, and a magnificent pressure came down from the dark clouds and lightning. It's the foundation-building thunder tribulation of the Heavenly Deo. A reward from the Heavenly Deo? Luyur's figure shook, and the huge rock used to block the cave entrance split into two in an instant. He passed through the gap and appeared at the cave entrance. Looking at the heavy calamity clouds in the sky, feeling the purple-gold thunder that seemed to want to destroy the vitality of all living things, Luyur's eyes were solemn. Second update, the chapter number of the previous chapter was typed wrong, and it cannot be changed now. I will change it tomorrow. Chapter 92, Survive the Thunder Tribulation. When building the foundation of the Heavenly Deo will pay attention to it. If it fails, the attention will dissipate. If it succeeds, it will be rewarded by the Heavenly Deo, and the foundation-building thunder tribulation will be sent down. The thunder tribulation is both a reward and a test. Once the thunder tribulation is passed, the reward from the Heavenly Deo will benefit the cultivator infinitely. If it cannot pass the thunder tribulation, then there is no other way but to die. Looking at the thunder in the sky, Luyur had an epiphany in his heart. This foundation-building thunder tribulation was waiting for him. He looked at the cliff under his feet, and with a thought, he took a step forward. The expected fall did not occur. After Luyur took a step forward, he was suspended in the air. Then he walked step by step in the air, heading towards the top of the mountain. This is the foundation-building cultivator, who can fly naturally without the help of magic tools or spells. At that time, dark clouds covered the sky, purple lightning crossed the sky, and the mighty power of heaven was so great that insects were silent, birds and beasts bowed their heads, and all things shrank. The young man, dressed in a black robe, walked in the air, not in a hurry, slowly ascending. Above him were dark clouds and purple lightning, and below him was a dark forest. Between heaven and earth, there was only one person. When he reached the top of the mountain, Luyur had completely mastered his body, which was so strong that it was a little strange at the moment. Looking up at the purple-gold arc of electricity that was swimming like a dragon in the dark clouds, he smiled casually, and with one hand, he drew it, with heroic spirit soaring to the sky. Come, then, the dark clouds rolled and thunder surged. Boom, the dark clouds rolled violently twice, and a purple lightning as thick as an arm instantly struck from it, streaking across a dazzling purple, and heading straight for Luyur. As soon as the purple lightning appeared, the destructive aura emanating from it made Luyur's eyes solemn. He pinched his fingers with one hand, and the protective aura instantly unfolded. Then he seemed to have an intention, and the arc in his hand flashed. After brewing for a moment, he went straight to the purple lightning that fell from the sky. Static electricity crackled wherever he passed. Two lightning bolts, one purple and one blue-white, collided in mid-air above Luyur's head in the blink of an eye. The palm lightning that Luyur fired had no ability to resist the purple lightning of the foundation-building thunder tribulation, and collapsed directly. However, although the purple lightning of the heavenly tribulation shattered Luyur's palm lightning, its power was still reduced. Luyur stretched out his hand and pointed, and 5 consecutive golden sword keys shot out, hitting the purple lightning of the heavenly tribulation one after another, causing visible weakening. The remaining purple lightning of the heavenly tribulation was not enough to threaten Luyur. It hit the thick protective aura and could not make him retreat half a step, so it had to turn into a dense arc of electricity and disappear. Luyur was relieved to easily take on the first purple lightning of the heavenly tribulation. If he was injured by the first lightning, then it would be better not to pass this heavenly tribulation. He could just find a place to dig a hole and lie down and wait for death. As the first purple lightning of the heavenly tribulation fell, the lightning in the dark sky became more and more glittering. The next second, 3 lightning bolts as thick as thighs fell at the same time, carrying an increasingly terrifying aura. Luyur propped up with one hand, and a shield appeared in his palm, and then suddenly enlarged to the limit, firmly covering his entire body under the shield. It was the top-grade magic weapon he had created, the Black Turtle Shield. Luya poured the rich liquefied magic power into the Black Turtle Shield, and suddenly the Black Turtle Shield shone with spiritual light. An illusory black turtle emerged from the shield surface and roared to the sky. Boom boom boom. 3 lightning bolts fell, and the huge force caused Luya's body to drop 3 points. He pulled his foot out of the rock depression and looked at the Black Turtle Shield. At this time, the Black Turtle Shield, which had been turned on in the second mode, had shrunk back to its original size. Under the bombardment of lightning, the shield surface was covered with charred black. Upon closer inspection, it could even be seen that it had already been carbonized under the charred black, and it was obviously on the verge of being scrapped. Luya casually put away the Black Tortoise Shield, drew out his long sword, and wiped the blade with one hand. A golden burning flame covered it. The Sun True Fire magical power consumed too much? Even though Luya had already established his foundation and liquefied his mana, he still didn't dare to use it wantonly. But there would always be a way, right? At this moment, attaching the flame to the blade not only greatly enhanced the lethality, but also reduced the consumption of the Sun True Fire. With a knife flower, the Sun True Fire drew a very tense arc in the air, and Luya once again faced the bombardment of the Sky Thunder. 5 Sky Thunders fell. Luya raised his long sword high, and with the momentum of splitting mountains and breaking seas, he chopped 4 swords in an instant. The 4 swords of flames collided with the Sky Thunder and annihilated each other. The last Sky Thunder bombarded Luya's body without any obstruction. Despite the defense of the body aura, Luya was still affected by the residual power of the Sky Thunder. A strong sense of numbness covered his whole body, followed by a needle-like pain, and a trace of blood seeped from the surface of his skin. Come again. Luya was bathed in the lightning, and even though his body was bleeding, he was still full of heroic spirit. The dark clouds seemed to respond to his request, and the lightning hidden in them flashed. The next moment, 7 bucket-thick thunderbolts fell from the sky and headed straight for his vital parts. The great pressure brought by the 7 thunderbolts made Luya have difficulty breathing, but he could no longer care about much at this moment. He stepped into the air with one foot and rose up from the ground. He took a step forward, pinched his fingers with one hand, and a wisp of blue-black wind appeared in the void in front of him. As soon as it appeared, it turned into a blue-black tornado and blocked Luya. After using the wind-shocking curse, he attacked again, and his whole body surged with magic power. A stream of golden sword energy rushed through the tornado and hit the thunderbolt. The next second, the thunderbolt swept all the golden sword energy, tearing the blue-black tornado in front of Luya and heading straight for Luya. A strong sense of crisis emerged from his heart. He dared not save his mana anymore. A golden flame appeared in front of him and turned into 7 fire dragons rushing forward. The fire dragons swelled in the wind, and in the blink of an eye, they swelled to a length of 10 feet and rushed towards the thunder. Bang! 7 times in a row, the 7 fire dragons only blocked for a moment, and then exploded into flames again under the bombardment of the thunder, dissipating in the air. Luya shouted, and the long sword in his hand swept out, leaving a bright sword light in the void, as if to cut off all 7 thunders. The thunder first bombarded the long sword, and after 3 lightnings were shattered by the sword light, the remaining 4 lightnings bombarded Luya without reservation. The lightning flashed, and the breath of destruction rose. Luya's body left a trail of afterimages in the air, and fell heavily back to the top of the mountain, and only stopped after smashing 2 boulders. He lay in the gravel, lightning and thunder roaming all over his body, emitting a terrifying and violent aura. Blood spurted out from everywhere, even from his eyes, nostrils, and ears. His whole body was shaking, and his whole body seemed to collapse like a cracked porcelain. He stared at the sky with a blank look. The dark clouds in the sky became thicker and thicker, with lightning roaming among them. A huge vortex of lightning slowly took shape, and an astonishing aura of destruction spread from it. The aura of destruction pressed down on the mountaintops and the earth below, and some timid insects, birds and beasts were even scared to death by this terrifying power. This also indicates that this thunder calamity is not over yet. Everyone, remember to vote. Chapter 93, Thunder and Fire Forging the Body, the Great Medicine for the Human Body. Fuck, Luya couldn't help but swear. It seemed that the previous thunder tribulations were appetizers, and now it was the final meal. Is it easy for me to build a foundation? Luya struggled to stand up, and threw a string of fragrant Chinese medicine with a high content of mother to the vortex of lightning in the sky. Before he finished cursing, the vortex of lightning in the sky expanded in vain. In just a few words, it had expanded by 1/10. "I'm sorry, God, I was wrong," Liu Ye decisively admitted his mistake and shut up. The vortex of lightning in the sky did not stop expanding because of Liu Ye's admission of weakness. After expanding a whole circle, the lightning in it was already dazzling and almost overflowing, like a sky eye, facing Liu Ye. Liu Ye stopped talking nonsense and quickly took out a bunch of pills, regardless of whether there was drug resistance or not. As long as the pills were for restoring energy and healing, they were all stuffed into his mouth. After 2 consecutive thrusts, when he was about to thrust the third one, the vortex of lightning in the sky finally gathered to its limit. A blazing golden lightning condensed and formed in the thunder pool. As soon as it formed, it dyed the dark clouds in the sky into blazing golden color. At first glance, it did not look like a lightning bolt, but like a golden dragon with bared fangs and claws, flying among the dark clouds. Then, the golden dragon, carrying the blazing golden lightning in the sky, all swooped down towards Liu Ye below. A breath of destruction and extinction of all living things burst out from the blazing golden lightning, firmly locking onto Liu Ye's figure. Liu Ye roared, and his foundation-building cultivation completely exploded. His peak-level Chongqun Gong was running to the extreme. His mana, his body, his consciousness, including his magical powers and everything he had learned, all burst out at this moment. "This foundation, I have built," he jumped up from the top of the mountain, and his whole body was burning with a 10-foot-high sun fire, like a rising sun, heading straight for the golden thunder that was falling from the sky. Everything turned into fuel for the sun's true fire, allowing it to release its destructive power. Boom! The golden dragon and the sun collided in midair, and thunder and fire erupted in all directions. At this moment, the dark clouds retreated and the eye of the sky disappeared. At this moment, the golden light was endless and the trees fell. At this moment, thunder, fire, and Liu Ye's figure were all submerged in the sea of thunder and fire. Looking around, there was only one sun bathing in thunder, floating in the sea of thunder, either bright or dark. Liu Ye was in the sun, his whole body covered with the blazing golden thunder. Thunder entered his body from his 7 orifices and pores, and then came out from the other side. Every ray of thunder that entered his body was like a branding iron, madly destroying his body, scratching his nerves, and giving him severe pain that almost made him crazy. His magic power was madly consumed, his body was destroyed, and his will was destroyed by endless thunder. But everything he had turned into fuel for the sun's true fire, including the thunder that entered his body. All of it was under his control and poured into the sun's true fire, making the golden sun brighter and more dazzling. Gradually, Liu Ye's body gradually dried up. His magic power was about to run out, and his consciousness gradually faded, but the fire on his body was still burning, tirelessly refining everything he had. Thunder and fire, just like this, confronted each other. But thunder is ultimately water without a source. As time passed, the thunder gradually dissipated, and the fire became hotter. Until the last trace of thunder was evaporated by the flame, the sun was still hanging high in the sky, but it was so dim that you could almost see the figure inside. And the gaze of the heavenly Deo also slowly dissipated at this moment. As it dissipated, the dark clouds in the sky completely dissipated, and a fiery red sun appeared above the 9 heavens, shedding warm sunlight. At the moment when a ray of sunlight shone through the dim sun and shone on Liu Ye's face, his tightly closed eyes suddenly opened. At the same time, a golden light burst out from his body. He clenched his fists blankly and found that all his previous injuries were healed at this moment. Liu Ye felt that in his body, at the bottom of the Qi Dangan, the Chaos Dao Foundation exuded an indestructible aura, as heavy as 1,000 pounds, which completely fixed his Qi Dangan in his body. That kind of solid feeling, even if the sky collapsed and the earth collapsed, his Dangan would not be shaken or damaged in the slightest. A pure and sticky mana surged out from the Qi Dangan, quickly spreading throughout the body along the meridians, causing his body to undergo another earth-shaking change. An unparalleled sense of power was fed back to him, making him a little dazed. He looked around, the sky was clear and the air was fresh, the world was clearer in his eyes, his connection with this world was closer, and it seemed that he was blending with the heaven and the earth. This is the foundation of the heavenly Dao? Liu Ye clenched his 5 fingers, clenched his fists, and looked up to the sky and let out a long howl. The howl spread all over the wilderness, announcing his birth in this uninhabited mountain. Suddenly, A golden-winged white tiger soared into the sky, its ferocious face full of greed and desire, as if the one in front of it was not a cultivator, but a living human medicine. Following the movement of the golden-winged white tiger, in the distant mountains and forests, one breath after another soared into the sky, and strange creatures rushed madly in the direction of Liu Yang. Their eyes were eager to the extreme, as if Liu Yang had a fatal attraction, and they wanted to swallow him whole. Roar, he is mine, a violent ape kept beating his chest, roaring like thunder. It's mine, a human medicine, if this king takes it, he will become a golden pill on the spot, a giant anaconda with a body length of more than 20 feet and a single horn on its head, spitting out a thick snake tongue, came winding like a dragon through the air. The nearest golden-winged white tiger let out an angry tiger roar, and the fluctuations of its spiritual consciousness spread in all directions. Get out of here, General. This human medicine is a gift from this general to the three-eyed king. If you compete with this general, you will die when the three-eyed king comes back. The moment the other monsters heard the three-eyed king from the golden-winged white tiger, they all froze and even hesitated. Who cares? The three-eyed king is probably thousands of miles away in the west to attend the 10,000 Monsters Conference. How can he take care of us? When we take this human medicine, we will become golden elixirs on the spot. Why are we afraid of him? The one-horned giant anaconda raised its snake head, and the old voice of its spiritual consciousness spread throughout the scene. That's right, the old bald rat of the three-eyed. I have long been fed up with him. When I take this human medicine, I will make him pay. The violent ape showed its sharp fangs and hammered his chest violently. Liu Yang stood in midair, looking at the many second-level monsters that gathered from all directions, including some second-level high-level monsters with strong auras. Listening to their unbridled spiritual sounds, he laughed dumbly. These beasts didn't treat him as a human being. Everyone, remember to vote. Chapter 94 True Fire Kills Monsters. Liu Yang clenched his fist, feeling the huge power contained in it, and whispered in his heart. I don't know how strong my Xiandao is after building the foundation. Just as you are here, I will try my hand on you. His behavior, in the eyes of the monsters, was so frightened that they even forgot to run away. Ha ha ha, the human medicine should be swallowed by me obediently, and become my helper in condensing the golden elixir. The 10-foot-tall violent ape jumped up, with 5 fingers like a clasp, and the black and shiny sharp nails grabbed Liu Yang. Get out of here, General. The second-level high-level golden-winged white tiger who claimed to be a general let out a tiger roar, and the huge tiger claws slapped the big hand of the violent ape. The two collided in the air, and the powerful monster body burst out with unparalleled huge power, and the air was rippled like a tide. White Tiger General, you dare to stop me? Believe it or not, I will tear you alive. The violent ape was blocked, and bloodshot burst out of his huge eyeballs, staring at the golden-winged white tiger blocking him. This general said that he belongs to the three-eyed king. The golden-winged white tiger turned its back to Liu Yang, and a low tiger roar came out from its throat, and the sound of spiritual consciousness came out again. Hiss, forget it, little cat, everyone knows your thoughts. If I really let you take this human medicine, when the three-eyed bald rat comes back, you will be on equal footing with him. The huge and cold snake face of the unicorn giant anaconda showed a humanized mockery, and then suddenly rushed out and rushed straight to Liu Yang. He is mine, mine, all of you die. Seeing the unicorn giant anaconda attack, the other monsters shouted and pounced on Liu Yang, and all kinds of magic and innate magical powers were used. However, they did not hit Liu Yang, but the monster closest to Liu Yang. The unicorn giant anaconda was hit at least 7 or 8 times in an instant. Even though its huge body was covered with snake scales with amazing defensive power, it was still beaten to pieces and fell from the air. Ha ha ha, here comes the human medicine. Seeing the giant unicorn falling towards the forest below, a second-level intermediate giant eagle seized the opportunity, let out a fierce roar, and like an arrow from the bow, it flapped its wings quickly and pounced on Liu Yang. Seeing Liu Yang getting bigger and bigger in its eyes, the giant eagle's sharp eagle eyes also burst into joy. Faster, faster, as long as it catches this human medicine before the other monsters react, it will immediately fly thousands of miles high in the sky. Who can catch it then? He is mine. Puff. The joy in the giant eagle's eyes suddenly stopped, replaced by a touch of disbelief and unwillingness to die. Behind it, the golden-winged white tiger appeared there silently, pressing its wings with its claws, biting its neck with its tiger mouth, and its huge and hard tiger teeth almost cut off its neck. Cry, the giant eagle let out a final roar, its wings like knives, gathering all its demonic power, and slashing heavily at the golden-winged white tiger. Tiger blood splattered, and two deep blood grooves appeared on the thick front paws of the golden-winged white tiger. The second-level intermediate iron-winged eagle died in one encounter. But its death did not make the other monsters retreat. All the monsters rushed towards Liu Ya frantically, fighting fiercely, blood gushing, and roaring continuously. Liu Ya looked at the many monsters that had already been in a mess, and his eager heart calmed down instantly. Seeing that they were fighting so fiercely, he didn't even plan to persuade them to fight. He even wondered if he would leave directly at this moment without any obstruction. But he did not move. Watching a big fight here is not as exciting as running away directly. All the monsters were rushing towards Liu Ya, and all the monsters were blocking others from rushing towards Liu Ya. In a short distance, the group of monsters actually fought for a full quarter of an hour. In the end, 5 monsters stood in 5 directions with wounds all over their bodies, surrounding Liu Ya in the middle. A golden-winged white tiger, a giant unicorn, a 10-foot-long violent ape, a blood-mane wolf king, and a human-faced demon spider the size of a house. All of them were second-level high-level demon beasts, but at this moment, none of them were in good condition. The most seriously injured human-faced demon spider had 3 limbs broken and 2 rows of compound eyes blasted out. Liu Ya was surrounded by 5 second-level high-level demon beasts. He looked normal and even had time to stretch his waist. Then he said, "What, is the fight finally over? After the fight, it's time to pick the fruits." The golden-winged white tiger's tiger eyes were fierce, not hiding its greed at all. "Roar, the medicine belongs to this king." The 10-foot-long violent ape slapped his chest heavily, and then his big hand grabbed Liu Ya again. Seeing the violent ape take action, the other 4 demons immediately tensed up and concentrated, but none of them jumped out to stop it. The demons present had experienced countless battles, and Liu Ya's performance made them a little unsure, so they let this brainless violent ape test his strength. Seeing the giant ape's hand pressing down, Liu Ya did not move at all, but just held up a piece of protective aura. The violent ape's hand fell down and held Liu Ya tightly in its hand. The terrifying huge force squeezed the protective aura and made it creak. "Let go, let go." Seeing that Liu Ya was taken down so easily by the violent ape, the other 4 demons roared in anger, and their killing moves were aimed at the violent ape, but they avoided the right hand that was holding Liu Ya. "Roar, all of you get out of here." The violent ape protected Liu Ya in his chest, and the demon power in his other hand was condensed, and he swung it around violently. Just when it thought it had succeeded, it suddenly felt an extremely hot hand, almost to the point where it had to let go. It looked down and saw Liu Ya, who was protected in his palm, burning with blazing golden flames. This golden flame was so strong and masculine that it seemed to be able to burn everything in the world. As soon as the golden flame appeared, it ignited the palm of the violent ape, and then the flame spread rapidly along its chest like flowing water, covering it completely in the blink of an eye. "Roar!" The violent ape let out a violent howl, and encouraged its demonic power to slap the flames on its body. But no matter how it slapped, the flames not only did not go out, but instead used its demonic power and flesh as fuel to burn more and more vigorously. In a few breaths, the violent ape, which was 10 feet tall, turned into charcoal. Liu Ya shook it lightly, and it broke into several pieces and fell to the ground below. Such a terrifying flame made the remaining 4 monsters look solemn, but they were still reluctant to give up. "I can't care so much. Kill him first, and then we can discuss the ownership." The one-horned giant anaconda let out a roar, and the snake body was about to eject. Upon hearing this, the other 3 monsters immediately reached an agreement and pounced on Liu Ya. Liu Ya flicked his finger slightly, and a little fire flew out, turning into a raging sea of fire in the blink of an eye. The unicorn giant anaconda's snake body shot out, but not towards Liu Ya, but in the opposite direction, escaping quickly. "Damn unicorn reptile!" the blood-mane wolf king roared, and then was engulfed by the surging flames. Under the true fire of the sun, the 3 monsters that pounced on it were immediately engulfed by the flames. Among them, the human-faced demon spider was the first to give up, and a large amount of golden flames came out of its mouth parts, and its breath quickly disappeared. The remaining 2 monsters were still struggling to hold on. Liu Ya took a step forward and appeared above the wolf king's head. A punch fell, like splitting a mountain. The wolf king was struck by lightning, and when it came to its senses, the flames had completely burned through its defense. The golden-winged white tiger was the same. After Liu Ya's punch, the 2 monsters died. Looking at the unicorn giant anaconda that was accelerating away not far away, Lu Ya's figure was like lightning, leaving a trail of afterimages, and quickly chased after the giant anaconda. How is it possible? The giant unicorn looked back, and its gallbladder almost exploded. 3 monsters as big as it fell silently, and the other party was actually chasing it, and its speed was much faster than it. It seemed that it would catch up with it in less than 3 breaths. Regret flashed in the eyes of the giant unicorn snake, and then it flew away while using its spiritual sense to loudly transmit the message, "Senior, please spare my life. I am willing to be your mount and serve you from now on. Everyone, please vote," and the third update is over. Chapter 95, Subduing the Giant Anaconda. After hearing the telepathic message from the unicorn giant anaconda, Luya was not moved at all. The strength of the Heavenly Deo Foundation building fully erupted and turned into rainbow light. In just one breath, he blocked the unicorn giant anaconda. Looking at Luya, who suddenly appeared in front of him, the unicorn giant anaconda was like a frightened cat, with its scales standing upside down, its head raised high, coiled up, and looked at Luya vigilantly. It felt bitter in its heart. It originally thought that it was a great opportunity that would not come once in 100 years, but it turned out to be a killing disaster. If it was given another chance, it would definitely hide in its nest and never show its head. No, it would definitely flee directly to the desolate West Swamp, and would rather drill into the stinking mud of the swamp than face Luya, who was covered in flames. The golden and violent flames, it could feel the pain of its spiritual consciousness being burned just by looking at it. The huge snake body slowly turned, and the huge snake head looked at Luya diagonally in front of it from bottom to top. According to its size, Luya was about the size of a toothpick in front of it, but this tiny body exuded a destructive aura that made it tremble with fear. This made it unconsciously lower its altitude, fearing that it would accidentally anger the other party. "You said, you are willing to be my mount, just to spare your life." Luya played with a flower of fire in his hand, and his eyes casually swept over the vital parts of the giant anaconda, such as the 7 inches and heart. The one-horned giant anaconda nodded quickly, fearing that if it was a little late, the flames would fall on it. Luya looked at the one-horned giant anaconda in front of him, his eyes flickering. A dead second-level high-level monster is definitely not as valuable as a living one. Moreover, this giant python has a single horn on its head, and it is obvious that its bloodline is extraordinary. If it can be subdued, it will definitely greatly enhance the strength of the family. To be honest, he was a little tempted. However, before that, he needed to confirm it again. Seeing Luya's increasingly dangerous look, the giant unicorn anaconda hurriedly said, "Senior, I am willing to swear a blood oath. I hope you will give me a chance." Luya shook his head. "A blood oath alone is not enough. I want your original demon blood." "Impossible. The original demon blood is my foundation and my dignity. I would rather die than voluntarily donate my original demon blood," the giant unicorn anaconda roared, and the excited spiritual fluctuations were transmitted. Its unyielding look was automatically translated into "As long as you force me, I can donate my original demon blood" by Luya. The sun-true fire in Luya's hand suddenly surged, and the golden flames almost touched the snakeskin of the giant unicorn anaconda. "Donate demon blood, or die, your choice." The giant unicorn anaconda showed grief and anger, and then the demon power in its body suddenly contracted. A fist-sized red blood bead oozed from its brow and slowly floated towards Luya. Luya reached out to take it. After a little experience, he could feel the connection between the original demon blood in his hand and the other party. As long as he exerted a little force, the huge snake demon opposite would die immediately. After forcing out the original demon blood, the one-horned giant anaconda was obviously a little weak. It raised its head and looked at Luya carefully. "In this case, from now on, you will be my mount." Luya landed on the huge snake head, patted its horn gently, and then said, "Yes, master," the one-horned giant anaconda said respectfully. Standing proudly on the huge snake head, Luya was secretly happy in his heart. "Now I am also a person with a mount. How can the immortal figures in myths and legends not have a mount to support the scene? This one-horned giant anaconda looks good, and its cultivation is also decent. It is not shabby to be a mount." In a good mood, Luya patted the giant python's horn and asked, "What is your name?" Reporting to the master, "The little snake is called Modu," the one-horned giant anaconda replied. "Modu, not bad," Luya nodded. It seemed that this newly acquired mount had a certain origin. If it was a wild monster, it would never have such a regular name. "By the way, don't call me master in the future. Call me young master," Luya then ordered. "Master or something," If a little lolly with blonde hair and animal ears called it out, it would be a bit interesting. But it was a bit awkward for Lu Ye to call it out from the mouth of this behemoth. By the way, Lu Ye seemed to remember that the monsters in this world could transform. But the big monsters who could transform were either above the giant in level or had extraordinary talents. However, he heard that Unyielding Mountain was a paradise for monsters. Monsters of all races could be seen in Unyielding Mountain, and basically all of them had transformed. I wonder if I will have the opportunity to visit Unyielding Mountain in the future. Okay, young master, well, come with me to clean up the battlefield first, and then we will return. Lu Ye estimated that although time had not passed too long in his consciousness, it took about 110 days, nearly 3 months, to build the foundation. I don't know how the family is doing, and whether the clan leader has successfully established his foundation. On the way back, Lu Ye looked at the sky and thought to himself. When he came, he was still cautious, fearing that he would provoke some demon beasts with high cultivation. But when he returned, he had already established his foundation in the heavenly Dao, and even subdued a big demon comparable to the late stage of foundation building as his mount. He rushed all the way, without any intention of hiding. Soon, the family residence was in sight. At this moment, in the family, Lu Dinghe and Lu Dingbo were discussing something in the cave. Just 1.5 months after Lu Yao went out to establish his foundation, the number 1 earth vein cave, which had been closed for 3 months, was finally opened from the inside, and Lu Dingbo, who was much younger, walked out of the cave slowly. At this time, he was already a genuine foundation building cultivator, and his momentum was only slightly weaker than Lu Dinghe at the time. Lu Dingbo's successful foundation building made the clan members ecstatic. In just 2 years, their Lu family actually produced 2 foundation building cultivators in succession. This is really too dreamy. Suddenly, the 2 of them changed their expressions, and their figures instantly appeared in the air outside the cave. Through the formation, they could see a huge and winding monster in the distance flying quickly towards the direction of the clan. Lu Dinghe said seriously. This momentum is definitely more than the 2nd level intermediate. Brother, prepare to control the formation. Lu Dingbo nodded seriously, and the core of the Xiangang star fighting formation plate appeared in his hand. The 2 stood on the air, watching the monster approaching in the distance as if facing a great enemy. When they could see the huge monster clearly, a look of astonishment appeared on their faces at the same time. Lu Dingbo said in disbelief, "Is that Lu Yang?" Lu Dinghe nodded. He also looked at it several times and it was indeed Lu Yang. Did he get captured by this monster? Lu Dingbo's face was red, and he was about to be furious. Lu Dingbo had been attacking the foundation before and didn't know it. How could Lu Dinghe not know Lu Ya's strength? He recalled Lu Ya's previous actions and voice transmission, and when he saw him return now, a happy smile from the heart appeared on his face. "No, brother, I think it was he who tamed the giant snake. I'm a little stuck and need to sort it out. I'll update as usual tomorrow." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96. The family's future is promising. Subdue this terrifying giant snake monster? Lu Dingbo was startled and turned to look at Lu Dinghe. Seeing that he looked as if it was natural, he hurriedly asked, "Dinghe, what happened during my foundation building period?" Lu Ye is a genius, but when did he become so powerful? Haha, brother, why don't you ask him directly later? I'm also a little curious. Lu Dinghe laughed, kept it a secret, and then soared into the sky. Lu Ye stepped on the unicorn giant anaconda and looked at Lu Dinghe rushing out of the family formation and Lu Dingbo following behind. He immediately understood that Lu Dingbo had successfully built his foundation. He finally breathed a sigh of relief and took a step forward and flew towards the 2. When Lu Dinghe saw Lu Ye flying in the air, he knew that he had successfully built his foundation, and the smile on his face became even brighter. Third Grandpa, clan leader, flying in front of the 2, Lu Ye bowed his hands. At this time, Lu Ye's breath was peaceful, and his magic power was as deep as the sea. At a glance, it was known that his foundation was extremely strong, and it was definitely not a fluke breakthrough in the foundation. After observing for a long time, Lu Dingbo and Lu Dinghe looked at each other and laughed at the same time. Ha ha ha, good, good, I didn't expect that one day my Lu family would also have 3 foundation building people. Seeing this, Lu Yan also laughed. Lu Dingbo was about to say something when he saw that the giant anaconda with a single horn had appeared behind Lu Yan, and its cold snake eyes looked at him with scrutiny. He froze all over, and in his perception, it seemed to open its bloody mouth and swallow him in one gulp. However, this feeling was only a short moment, and it came and went quickly, and disappeared without a trace in a blink of an eye. Lu Dingbo looked at the giant anaconda with a single horn behind Lu Yan with lingering fear, and then looked at Lu Yan and asked, "Lu Yan, what's the situation with this monster, and why did it return with you?" Lu Yan thought about it for a while, but did not tell the truth. Whether it was his foundation building of the heavenly Dao or being besieged by a large number of monsters, it was too shocking for Lu Dingbo and the others. "Its name is Modu. I succeeded in building my foundation and met it on the way back, so I subdued it," Lu Yan said easily. "Modu, this is the patriarch of my Lu family, and this is my third grandfather. You can call him the patriarch, or the third grandfather." The giant unicorn anaconda lowered its huge head, and greeted respectfully and said, "Modu greets the patriarch, greets the third grandfather." Lu Dingbo and the others nodded in response, and then Lu Dinghe whispered to Lu Yan, "I think it is at least a second-level high-level monster. How did you subdue it?" His voice was small, but how could it escape the ears of the people present? The giant unicorn anaconda Modu listened and complained in his heart, "How did you subdue it? If I can beat him, will I still be subdued by him?" But it didn't dare to say so on the surface. It just said quickly, "At that time, I saw that the young master was extraordinary and heroic, and his cultivation was profound. After just one glance, the little snake determined that the young master was my destined master, so I pestered him. Thank you for not despising me." So I reluctantly accepted the little snake. The more Lu Yan listened, the more he felt something was wrong. When it finished speaking, the corners of his eyes twitched unconsciously. Why didn't he realize that this guy actually had some potential to be a lackey? However, it must be said that this licking of the snake tongue made the three people present feel comfortable physically and mentally. Especially Lu Dingbo and Lu Dinghe, they were in a good mood after listening to it, and waved their hands repeatedly, saying that Mo was serious. The two men and the snake were very interested in talking. After chatting for a long time, Lu Dingbo said, "Since you, Modu, have decided to follow Lu Yan, you are a member of my Lu family. In the next 2 days, I will send the clan members to dig a place for you to live in the clan residence. How about you settle down in the clan?" A hint of joy flashed in Modu's huge snake pupils. He turned to look at Lu Yan and asked for his opinion. His life and death were in Lu Yan's hands. No matter what, it had to perform well. Not to mention fighting for its life and blood, at least it couldn't cause Lu Yan's disgust. As for licking, it has lived for more than 100 years. It has grown from a little snake with a nascent intelligence to now. It can be considered proficient, not to mention great success. Lu Yan nodded, "That's good, okay, that's settled over there. Let's go down." Lu Dingbo waved his hand, and the Xiangang star array opened, welcoming the three people and the snake in. At this moment, in the Lu clan, most of the clan members were looking up at the sky, or more precisely, at the 20-foot-long and ferocious giant anaconda. "Brother, is that a dragon?" Little Radish, holding the increasingly round fat rabbit, pointed at the giant anaconda in the sky with curiosity in his big black pearl-like eyes. "That's a snake," Lu Yang answered speechlessly. "Then why is it so big?" "The snakes that Little Radish has seen before are not as thick as my arm." "Ah, it's coming in," Little Radish screamed and immediately hid behind Lu Yang, holding onto the hem of his robe tightly, revealing his two big eyes and secretly watching the giant anaconda that was getting closer and closer. As the distance got closer and closer, a cold and suffocating pressure pressed down on the people below, and many people even began to feel weak in their legs. This was the result of Modu's efforts to reduce his presence. Otherwise, these little guys in the key training period below would be stunned on the spot and let him slaughter them with just a glance. Lu Yat and the other two landed one after another, and Modu's huge snake body also quietly landed behind the three. Looking at the many clansmen not far away, Lu Dingbo introduced loudly, "Don't panic, everyone, this is Modu. From now on you are a member of my Lu family." Modu also cooperated and released a ray of spiritual consciousness, conveying goodwill. After hearing Lu Dingbo's introduction, everyone was relieved a little, but still did not dare to approach. "Lu Feng, tomorrow you will bring your clansmen to dig a pond on the open space west of the family residence for Modu to live in." Lu Feng nodded in agreement. "In addition, my Lu family welcomed the third foundation building clan member today, Lu Dingbo said, turning to look at Luya. That is Luya. After the voice fell, there was silence at first, and then a cheer broke out in the crowd. A gray-haired old man couldn't help but wipe his eyes, his voice trembling. God bless my Lu family. In the dangerous area of Yanqinyu, having foundation building protection and not having foundation building protection are basically two concepts. When the ancestor was still alive, the Lu family didn't have enough resources, but they didn't have to worry too much about their lives. But after the ancestor passed away, the situation faced by the Lu family became more and more difficult. In the past few decades, they even had to sell some of their property to maintain the lives of their clansmen. But even so, there are still clansmen who die every year for various reasons. But from now on, the Lu family doesn't need to worry too much. There are 3 foundation building clansmen, which is enough to ensure the safety of the clansmen. This also means that the younger generations of the family will grow and practice in a safer environment. From generation to generation, the family will become stronger and stronger. Everyone, remember to vote. Chapter 97 Communication. The next day, under the leadership of Lu Feng, it took only 1 day to dig a huge pond 20 meters deep, 200 feet long and wide to the west of the family residence. And a branch was drawn from a river not far from the family residence to fill the pond. After asking Lu Ya about the specific situation, Lu Dingbo asked him to imprint a trace of demon power on the core of the Xiangang star array, allowing it to enter and exit freely. By the evening, Modu had already dived into the pond and swam back and forth twice with great enjoyment. Its previous nest was a deep pool of water with a radius of more than 10 meters. Although it was quite deep, it was far less spacious than this new home. As for the concentration of spiritual energy, it was indeed not as good as the old nest, but it was very satisfied to be able to keep its life. Don't you see that its old friends in the mountains before, it is the only one still alive. But apart from anything else, its old friends tasted really good, especially those that had been baptized by the young master's true fire, and they tasted like a burning aroma. At that time, there were so many monster corpses that Lu Ya's storage bag couldn't hold them all. He could only put some of the precious monster materials and flesh and blood into the storage bag, and let Modu swallow the remaining monster corpses. After Modu tried his best to swallow only 3 corpses of the second-level high-level monsters, Lu Ya had no choice but to burn them all to ashes and clean up the scene. Even so, Modu also gained a huge benefit. Just digesting it, it wouldn't have to hunt for a year or 2, not to mention the rich spiritual energy contained in the flesh and blood. When it digested it all, its own Taoism would definitely be further improved. Thinking of it this way, it didn't lose anything, not to mention that Lu Ya had such a terrifying strength just after building his foundation. If he continued to grow in the future, he would definitely be able to rise to heaven as a mount. With this thought, Modu became more determined that his choice at that time was not wrong, and at the same time planned to lick Lu Ya comfortably. Speaking of Xiao appeared. Modu's huge snake head broke out of the water and saw Lu Ya standing on the shore. Modu said in a flattering tone, "Master, why are you here? If you have anything to say, just tell me and I'll be there right away." As he spoke, he used his magic power to condense a water chair for Lu Ya. Looking at the water chair floating on the water, Lu Ya was still thinking about whether his clothes would get wet if he sat on it, but his body had already sat down very naturally. After sitting down, Lu Ya looked at Modu's huge horn and asked, "Modu, can you tell me about the power in the mountain range where you were before? Especially the 3-eyed king mentioned by the golden-winged white tiger." Modu nodded his huge head, stirring up a wave of water, and then Lu Ya heard it say, "In the mountain range where the little snake was before, there was only one big power, which was established by the 3-eyed bald rat. The 3-eyed bald rat is a 3-level 3-eyed ghost bat. It broke through to the 3rd level about 50 years ago, which should be equivalent to the early stage of the human race's golden elixir. Since the 3-eyed bald rat broke through, the monsters in the mountains have surrendered or avoided. The violent ape, the blood wolf, etc., are the ones who are unwilling to surrender. I choose to practice in the mountains. On weekdays, I don't care about it. But some time ago, the 3-eyed bald rat didn't know what disease it had, and it began to expand its power. It even threatened that if you don't surrender, you will die. The golden-winged white tiger was under its command at that time. In fact, I was planning to leave this mountain range and continue my cultivation in another place, but I didn't expect to meet the young master. It was really a ray of light in my 100-year snake life, illuminating my snake life. Okay, stop, Lu Ye interrupted Modu's licking spell and continued to ask, I remember you said at that time that the three-eyed king went to participate in some kind of 10,000 demons conference. Where did he go? When did it happen? Who initiated it? This matter, Modu twisted his snake body hidden under the water twice, changed to a comfortable position, and then said, this happened about a month ago. After the three-eyed bald rat received an invitation from the big demon in the west, he set off excitedly. Lu Ye interrupted and asked, West? Big demon, yes, there is a big swamp at the westernmost end of this area, Floating Dream Lake, Lu Ye said. Yes, it is the Floating Dream Lake, Modu nodded repeatedly. I heard that a dragon that survived the thunder tribulation appeared in the Floating Dream Lake, and its strength is comparable to that of a human god. I heard that this 10,000 monsters meeting was initiated by it. After saying this, Modu's eyes flashed with envy. Surviving the thunder tribulation and becoming a dragon, this is also its pursuit of cultivation. Lu Ye's pupils shrank. He didn't expect that the news he heard before was actually true. With such a great demon inviting him, he couldn't help but look away. Lu Ye said, Modu, what do you think the dragon wants to do by organizing the 10,000 monsters meeting? What is the intention? Of course, it is to intimidate all forces and establish its own position, Modu said as a matter of course. Besides this, what else? Modu asked back. Okay, take a rest. Lu Ye decisively ended the topic. It was a surprise to be able to get some information about the appearance of a great demon in Yankee territory from Modu. He couldn't ask for more. Okay, master, take care. Back at his residence, Lu Ye sat cross-legged on the futon, his eyes flickering. Now it seems that the news received at that time is probably true. Even the monsters in the small mountains here have received invitations, which is enough to prove that the Demon King will definitely make a big move next, and it may be to eliminate the human race in Yanka domain. If this is true, their Lu family should have made plans long ago. But Lu Ye thought again, what else can they plan? Move the whole family? The mountains are high and the roads are long, and there are dangers everywhere. Even Jinden can't pat their chests and say that they will be safe, let alone a foundation-building family like them. And even if they want to move to another domain, the east is a more desolate and dangerous Yingui domain, which is even more unsuitable for human survival. They can only move to the southeast or northeast. Thinking of the long journey, Lu Ye automatically gave up this plan. As for taking the teleportation array, this cross-domain teleportation array is not only huge in cost, but also the force generated during the teleportation is not something that ordinary people can bear. This is not when their Lu ancestor came here alone. I still have to continue to strengthen my strength and make plans early, Lu Ye sighed. He originally thought that he would be much safer after building his foundation, but he never thought that there would be such a big pit waiting for him. However, when it comes to strengthening his strength, Lu Ye's mind emerges a magic weapon recorded in the last magic weapon chapter of the 9 broken art of refining. That magic weapon is just suitable for cultivators in the foundation building period, and once it is successfully refined, it is not only powerful, but also can be used to upgrade the 9 forging secret art. Chapter 98, the art of transforming into rainbow. However, the requirements for refining are quite demanding, but compared to the collection of the main materials, the other auxiliary materials are not too expensive. It seems that I still have to go to Wuho Market to buy some materials. After making up his mind, Lu Ye opened the skill panel. Name, Lu Yan. Lifespan, 21 278 years old. Realm, Foundation Establishment Level 1. 1/100, Kung Fu, Eternal Spring Skill Peak. 4598, 50000. Skills, Fire Controlling Technique Perfected. Golden Sword Key Realm. 61410/400000. Wind Controlling Technique Realm. 1632, 200,000. Wind Shocking Curse Peak. 248/50000. Water Controlling Technique Peak. 2385, 50000. Equipment Refining Technique Level 1. 610,500. Magic Power, Sun True Fire. Magic power points. 0. The rest of the spells have basically reached their limit. The few that haven't reached the limit will be put aside for the time being. The experience of water controlling technique is still a little behind. I will first concentrate on maxing out the experience of Golden Sword Key and Wind Controlling Technique, and create the magic power as soon as possible. Lu Ye has confirmed the power of the magic power. Except for the higher consumption, all other aspects are perfect. With the power of Sun True Fire alone, Luya can kill a high-level second-level monster beast, which is comparable to a human cultivator in the late stage of foundation building. However, if he really faces a human cultivator who has built a foundation, the situation is not that simple. After all, they will not rush forward like monsters without thinking. For any cultivator who can build a foundation, let alone other things, he must have practiced for a long time and must be cautious. If you really meet someone who has built a foundation at a young age, he must be extremely talented and may have a lot of life-saving magic weapons given by his elders. However, if he really meets him, Luya will not be at all inferior. After all, who is not a genius? Now his spells are basically full level, and his means of attack are both near and far. In terms of defense, he has achieved success in body training and has a full-level body protection aura. He also has some auxiliary attack spells and a magical power to protect his body. He can attack and defend. Whether facing a cultivator, a monster or a strange evil spirit, as long as the difference in cultivation is not so big that it crushes him, he is confident that he can handle it. Well, the speed needs to be improved. It can play a big role in both pursuit and escape. In addition, the protection of the soul must be put on the agenda. The higher the cultivation level, the more diverse the means of attack will be. Although I have the protection of the magic fire and the Zuanyang, it is still not safe. Luya stretched out his hand to summon a small whirlwind while calculating in his mind. In terms of protecting the soul, the Zuanyang, as a secret technique, restrains more evil things that are naturally cold and evil, and is not obvious in defending against the attacks of the soul of the cultivator. As for the magic fire, although it is more effective in protecting the soul, it is more passively triggered, and the effect and initiative are insufficient. When he thought of the pink-robed monk of the yin-yang demon sect that he saw before entering the Jiuduan secret realm, he was afraid. Just a glance could directly arouse his 7 emotions and 6 desires, and almost made him lose his mind on the spot. This method is too incredible. Even with his current foundation building situation, he will probably be aroused by his 7 emotions and 6 desires after meeting the opponent, and at most he will have a little resistance. But for that kind of cultivator, there is no difference between some resistance and no resistance. We still have to find a way to protect our souls. The best is the corresponding spells. If there are none, we can only fall back on some magic tools. If the area they are in is safe, it doesn't matter whether there are any or not. But their Yankee area is obviously going to be in chaos. The war between the monsters and the human race may break out one day. In this case, he must arm himself as soon as possible and try not to have too prominent shortcomings. After all, there is only one life. Go to Wuho Xianbao Pavilion Trask tomorrow. The next morning, Luya stepped on Motu and rushed towards the direction of Wuho Market. This time when he came to Wuho Market again, the situation was even more different. Let's not talk about Luya, who is in the early stage of foundation building. The aura of Modu, a second-level advanced demon beast, made the guards at the city gate feel like they were facing a great enemy. After learning that Modu was Luya's mount, they respectfully invited Luya into the city, almost kneeling down to serve him. Luya stepped on Modu into the city, flew through the sky, and looked at the various shops and panicked pedestrians below, without any ripples in his heart. Flying all the way to Wuho Xianbao Pavilion, Luya saw a person flying out of Wuho Xianbao Pavilion and flying towards his location. Until he got close, the foundation building cultivator of Wuho Xianbao Pavilion bowed and smiled. I am Feng Buayu, the shopkeeper of Wuho Xianbao Pavilion. I wonder what brings you here. What is the matter, Feng? Luya's heart moved, and then after a few words of greeting, he directly stated his purpose. Daoao, there are too many people here, why don't we go into the pavilion and talk? Feng Buayu gestured to Luya with one hand. Okay, Luya nodded and followed Feng Buayu down to the Wuho Xianbao Pavilion below. After landing, an attendant immediately came and led Modu to the side to offer blood food, and Luya and Feng Buayu slowly walked into the pavilion. Daoao, since you came here sincerely, our Wuho Xianbao Pavilion will do its best to satisfy you, Feng Buayu said casually as he walked. In this case, thank you, Manager Feng. As the two talked, they came to a high-profile and luxurious reception room. The two sat down as host and guest, and 2 beautiful maids quickly served tea and spiritual fruits, and then retreated respectfully. Lu Yu took a sip of the spiritual tea and felt the fragrance lingering on his lips and teeth. A faint spiritual energy penetrated into his heart. His eyes lit up and he said, "It's really good tea. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that fellow Taoist also knows tea. This tea is from the 4th level spiritual wood planted in my Wuhu Xianbao pavilion. The young buds were picked and fried in early spring. I will ask someone to get 5 taels later. I hope fellow Taoists don't think it's too little," Feng Guiyu said generously. "In that case, I thank shopkeeper Feng," Lu Ya did not refuse, and then said, "I wonder if the Gabao pavilion has all the items I mentioned." Feng Guiyu pondered for a while, and then said with difficulty, "The items that Dao needs, except for the foundation building level rainbow magic, which is slightly in excess in the pavilion, the other items really need time to go to the headquarters to retrieve, and the prices also." Lu Yan nodded to show his understanding, and then said, "Why don't we do it one by one, shopkeeper Feng? How about we first decide on the foundation building level rainbow magic? It will be as Dao wishes." Feng Guiyu took out a small book from the storage bag and handed it to Lu Ya. After Lu Ya took it, he flipped through it casually, and his eyes showed surprise. The small book was full of rainbow magic and speed-related spells. Among them, on the first page was the most common foundation building level speed-up spell in the cultivation world, Rainbow. The art of turning into a rainbow is simple to say, but after using it, the cultivator's own magic power combines with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to form a rainbow light, carrying the cultivator quickly through the air. Dear Masters, remember to vote. Chapter 99, Choosing a Spell. After mastering this method, the flying speed of the foundation building cultivator can be increased by about 20%. As the spell becomes more and more proficient, the speed increased by the rainbow technique will become higher and higher. According to rumors, there are cultivators who have mastered the rainbow technique to a very high level. When the rainbow technique is used, the speed is not inferior to that of ordinary Jinden's Henrun. And the price is relatively not too high, only 50 medium-grade spirit stones are needed. Lu Yu continued to flip back, and the second page described a speed-related spell called Gale Escape. Gale Escape, after mastering it, the body turns into a gust of wind, with an unparalleled speed, but it consumes a lot of mana and cannot last long. It is suitable for scenes such as explosions. Lu Yu remembered it in his mind and continued to flip back. Moonlight Step. This method is ethereal and agile, with a moonlight in each step, with a graceful posture and speed. The speed is slightly slower, but the consumption is less, and the speed is increased by 20% under the moonlight. Wave after wave, this method imitates the surging of the sea waves, one wave higher than the other, and the speed increases step by step, getting faster and faster, and the maximum can exceed the original speed by 1 time. To practice this method, you need to watch the surging of the sea tide and understand the meaning of the waves. It is difficult to practice, but after practicing it, the speed is extremely fast and the consumption is moderate. The book is not big, but it records 8 kinds of spells. After repeated comparisons, Lu Ya finally chose the rainbow and the wind escape. First, the rainbow technique is quite cheap, and it is a common body method, and the upper limit is not low. He is confident that he can practice it to a very high level, and the speed will definitely not be slow. Secondly, the wind control technique he practiced also has a bonus for wind-related skills, and practicing the wind escape can also achieve twice the result with half the effort. Third, in addition to long-distance flight, the wind escape is more suitable for short-distance bursts, such as chasing, getting rid of pursuers, etc. In this case, the wind escape is obviously much more useful than the rainbow. Rainbow and wind escape, do you still need it? Feng Guiyu asked with a smile. Lu Yu shook his head. The rainbow transformation costs 50 middle-grade spirit stones, and the wind escape costs 80 middle-grade spirit stones. Taoist friend needs to pay a total of 130 middle-grade spirit stones. Lu Ya took out a J token of Wuhu Bank and handed it to Feng Guiyu. Feng Guiyu took out a diamond-shaped array plate and deducted the spirit stones. Then he said, Taoist friend, the Dharma cannot be passed on lightly. You still need to swear a Dao heart oath. You can only teach these 2 skills to 3 people at most. Lu Ya did not comment on this and swore a Dao heart oath as required. After the Dao heart oath was sworn, Feng Guiyu smiled and said, Taoist friend, you are really straightforward. This is the Giant Spirit Tea, a gift to Taoist friend. Lu Ya put away the jade box he pushed over, and then asked, I wonder if your pavilion can tell me about the spells or magic tools for protecting the soul. This Taoist friend should know that the soul is the most important thing for our generation of cultivators. And we should protect it more often on weekdays. This kind of spells or magic tools are even more popular, and there will basically be no surplus, Feng Guiyu said with some difficulty. Oh, but my Wuhu Xianbao Pavilion received a method of protecting the soul from a customer 2 days ago, and originally planned to auction it at the beginning of next month. Lu Ye's heart moved, and asked, I wonder if I can contact the other party and negotiate the price. Regarding the auction items, if there are channels, you can contact the seller before the auction. If the price is agreed upon, it will naturally save a lot of trouble. Don't worry, fellow Taoist, listen to me. Feng Guiyu took a sip of spiritual tea and said, this seller said when he consigned it that he would not accept private discussions, only auctions. If you agree, I will give you a quota for the auction at the beginning of next month, and you can fight for it yourself at that time. How about it? Lu Yan knew that he could not bypass the auction house, so he could only nod and bow to thank him. Then he took out a list of materials he had written in advance and handed it to Feng Guiyu, saying, I wonder when your pavilion will be able to collect all these materials. Feng Guiyu took it. There were several materials written on it, the most valuable of which were sun gold and moonstone. In addition, there were materials such as spring rain, summer frost, autumn dew, and winter snow. He put the list away and then said, spring rain and other materials are relatively simple, but sun gold and moonstone are quite rare. However, my Wuhu Xianbao Pavilion should have inventory and can transfer them in 3 days at most, but the price may be a little higher. Lu Ya breathed a sigh of relief and asked, the price is easy to negotiate. Do I have enough spirit stones left in the bank? Each caddy of sun gold requires 50 medium-grade spirit stones, and each caddy of moonstone requires 65. Taoist friend needs 10 caddies of sun gold and moonstone, plus other materials, which will require about 1,300 medium-grade spirit stones. Feng Guiyu quickly calculated and looked at Lu Yang. Manager Feng, how much do you think these are worth? Lu Yer waved his hand, and 2 huge skeletons appeared in the room, with a faint sense of oppression emanating from the skeletons. Feng Guiyu's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise, but then quickly withdrew. He summoned 2 gray-haired old men to quickly identify the skeletons. After a while, he turned to Lu Ya and said, Dao Arao, these 2 skeletons were second-level high-level monsters when they were alive. They are excellent materials for refining weapons. The selling price is about 2,000 medium-grade spirit stones. Dao Arao, do you want to sell them to my Wuhu Xianbao Pavilion? Lu Yan nodded as a matter of course. Of course, thank you, Dao Arao. Feng Guiyu laughed and bowed to thank him. The 2 quickly completed the transaction and agreed that Lu Yer would come to pick up the materials 7 days later, before the auction began. Seeing that everything had been done, Lu Yan had no intention of staying any longer. After saying goodbye to Feng Guiyu, he took Modu and soared into the sky. Looking at the huge snake body of Modu going away, a figure shrouded in black mist suddenly appeared beside Feng Guiyu. Feng Shijiu, where do you think this person came from? Feng Guiyu looked at the sky, as if asking, as if muttering to himself. I will follow him right away, the figure in the black mist spoke hoarsely. No need, we just need to do our own business, the rest has nothing to do with us. Feng Guiyu waved his hand and turned to walk into the pavilion. In the sky, Lu Ya sat cross-legged on the snakehead of Modu, looking at the rapidly retreating land below. Master, I have observed that no one is following. Modu's voice sounded in Lu Ya's ears. Well, then let's go back. Lu Ya stroked the 2 newly acquired jade slips of the cultivation method, thinking that he could start refining the magic weapon after the materials were gathered in 7 days, and his heart suddenly became a little hot. With Modu, the journey was smooth and there was no obstacle at all. It only took half an hour for Lu Ya to return to the family residence. He went straight back to his residence, and after taking a short breath, he probed his spiritual consciousness into the newly acquired jade slip and began to check the 2 spells one by one. Chapter 100, Soul Techniques and Spirit Purification Techniques. Chapter 100 Soul Techniques, Spirit Purification Techniques. The 2 spells have their own merits. After reading them, Lu Ya had a clear idea in his mind. Of the 2 spells, the Rainbow Technique is relatively simple, while the Wind Escape Technique is relatively difficult. However, he has learned quite a few spells now. With his previous learning experience, he can quickly master them by analogy. Time passed, and 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Lu Ya stood in midair, pinching his hands together, and an invisible wind quickly gathered and clung to his body. When the last spell fell, a strong wind suddenly surged around him, carrying him out in an instant. In just 3 breaths, he crossed the entire pond and appeared on the other side of the pond. The strong wind dissipated, revealing Lu Ya's somewhat messy figure. After he landed, his steps staggered twice, and the whole person felt a little dizzy because of the rapid change of space, similar to the feeling of motion sickness in his previous life. Lu Ya held Modu's horn to take a breath, and then stood up straight. This gale escape is really fast. I almost didn't react. He crossed the distance of 200 feet, 600 meters, in just 3 breaths. This speed burst was too rapid, so the consumption was also terrifying. In just 3 breaths, he consumed 1/20th of his mana. You have to know that he is a heavenly Deo foundation, and the concentration of mana is far higher than that of ordinary foundation cultivators. If it were an ordinary foundation cultivator, it might take 1/3 of mana in 3 breaths, which is not suitable for actual combat. And he has just entered the door. If the consumption is not counted, after the mana is used up, he can use the gale escape to escape 12,000 meters away, a full 12 kilometers away. And this was completed in just 60 breaths. It can be used in actual combat. What he has to do next is to adapt to the discomfort caused by this rapid speed, and brush up the experience of the gale escape to continuously improve the power of the gale escape. I haven't mastered the rainbow transformation technique yet, but I should be able to do it soon. After summarizing, Lu Ya slowly walked towards his residence. Although he had mastered the wind escape technique, he still needed to continue practicing. The rainbow transformation technique required more research, and he also had to gain experience in the wind control technique and other spells. Why do I feel that time is running out? 4 days later, Wuhu Xianbao Pavilion. Lu Ya met Feng Buayu, the shopkeeper, in the reception room again. As soon as they met, Feng Buayu took out a storage bag and placed the materials in front of Lu Ya one by one. Lu Ya checked them one by one, and found that there was nothing missing. He was satisfied and put all the materials into the storage bag. Thank you, shopkeeper Feng. Lu Ya collected the materials and bowed to Feng Buayu to thank him. Feng Buayu waved his hand quickly. Dao Yao, you are serious. You pay money for Wuhu Xianbao Pavilion to do things. This is the due obligation. You don't deserve the word thank you. After that, Feng Buayu took out a jade card and handed it to Lu Ya. The jade card was marked with Dian Key. This is the VIP box number 7 of the auction tonight, which is reserved for you. I have arranged the staff, and you can attend the auction at any time. Lu Ya took it and said with a smile, thank you for your trouble, Manager Feng. You're welcome, but the item you like tonight is probably worth a lot. If you have the conditions, you'd better make more preparations. Hearing this, Lu Ya understood. It seemed that many people were interested in this soul protection spell. He nodded, waved his hand, and 2 more monster corpses appeared from the storage bag. Please give me an estimate, Manager Feng. Feng Buayu's eyes lit up, and he was secretly happy. After the evaluation process, he quickly said, 1,000 medium-grade spirit stones, deal. Lu Ya took the bag of spirit stones and walked towards the auction under the guidance of the staff arranged by Feng Buayu. With these 1,000 spirit stones, I now have 2,300 spirit stones in my hand. I should be able to buy this spell to protect the soul, and I can also let all the clan members learn it, Lu Ya thought as he walked, and soon followed a beautiful maid in front of him through the secret passage into a small private room. Although the private room was not large, the facilities were quite luxurious. A bench big enough for 3 people was placed in the middle, covered with a thick layer of snow-white fur, and a faint fragrance filled the private room. On both sides of the bench, there was a maid, each holding a fruit spirit tea in their hands, and their 2 pairs of beautiful eyes were fixed on the position of Lu Ya's legs, not looking directly at Lu Ya's face. Lu Ya walked to the bench and sat down. The 2 maids bent down to serve the fruit spirit tea. The distance was very measured, so that he could reach it with one hand, but it would not affect his side at all. In front of him was a huge crystal glass. Under the effect of the formation, the auction scene was reflected on the crystal glass. Lu Ya could clearly see every item and the monks bidding. The monks below were arguing over the items, and the prices were getting higher and higher. The atmosphere was quite heated. Lu Ya didn't care much. He ate spiritual fruit and drank spiritual tea leisurely, waiting for the appearance of the guardian spell. After waiting for 7 or 8 items, the host below finally said loudly, the next auction item is the soul protection spell that everyone is looking forward to. As we all know, the soul is the foundation of the cultivator. There are many spells and secrets for the soul, but there are not many spells and secrets for protecting the soul. This time, the soul protection spell that my Wuhu Xianbao Pavilion will auction is called Qinglingshu, which means that it is not stained by dust and the spiritual light is clean. After the cultivator has cultivated it, the soul will be protected by a layer of spiritual light, and it will automatically be activated when encountering danger. Of course, if necessary, you can also take the initiative to cast it to remove a certain degree of soul attack for yourself or others. The most important thing is that this is the original jade slip of the spell, which means unlimited times of use. Without saying too much, the starting price of this soul protection spell Qinglingshu is 300 medium-grade spirit stones. Each bid must not be less than 10 medium-grade spirit stones. After the host finished speaking, Lu Ye raised his hand to Sinal and whispered, 500, so the maid on his left put down the fruit plate, walked to the crystal glass, and said in a sweet voice, 500 middle-grade spirit stones. The guest in the know. 7 Xianzi box bid 500 middle-grade spirit stones. He is definitely a person with unique vision. Is there anyone else to bid? The host shouted at the top of his lungs. 502, 508, 700. After Lu Ye made his first bid, he never bid again. He just watched the price go higher and higher, and quickly climbed to 1,300. Until this time, there were very few bids, and only 3 people in the boxes were still competing. Perhaps because of the anger, the owner of one box did not let the maid pass on the message, and said coldly, 1,500, if it is higher, I will give up and give it to you. Forget it, this price is too high, I will give it to you, said another box quite casually. Lu Ye raised his hand to signal, so the maid walked to the crystal glass and said, 1,600 middle-grade spirit stones, 1,605, the angry box owner said with gritted teeth. Lu Ye was a little speechless, because he had agreed to give up if it exceeded 1,015. He reluctantly offered again, 1,017. This time, there was no one raising the price. The whole scene became silent. Many monks on the first floor could not help but look at the box where Lu Ye was, trying to see through the crystal glass to see who the owner was. Box number 7 of Xianzi is offering 1,700 middle-grade spirit stones. Is there anyone who wants to raise the price? Once. Twice. Deal. Finally got it. Lu Ye leaned back on the bench and let out a long sigh. The third update is over. Everyone remember to vote more. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.